as she comes by.
There she is.
Seeing a quorum of voting members, I call the November 24th Cincinnati Public School Board meeting to order. Superintendent Murphy, please introduce our wonderful students who will be leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance this evening.
Yes, ma'am. Today we have the students from North Avondale Montessori School, where Principal Ferguson is their leader.
Let's rise.
Class, please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All righty, Dighty. Treasurer Guston, please call the attendance roll.
Mr. Craig.
Here.
Mr. Crossett. Here. Mr. Lindy.
Here.
Ms. Mapp.
Here.
Mrs. Weinberg.
Here.
Vice President Bolton.
Present.
President Moffitt.
Here. Vice President Bolton, please explain the virtual hearing of the public process.
Gladly, thank you very much. Members of the public who are online and wish to speak during the hearing of the public this evening may do so by clicking the chat button now. The chat feature will open for your requests for 5 minutes. If you would like a direct response to any questions, please make sure you share your name, your affiliation to the district, your school community, your topic, and your contact information.
Thank you. I need a motion and a second to approve the November 24th business meeting agenda.
So moved.
Second. Thank you. Ladies, Treasurer Guston, please call the voting roll.
Mr. Craig.
Yes.
Mr. Crossett. Yes. Mr. Lindy.
Yes.
Ms. Mapp.
Yes.
Mrs. Weinberg.
Yes.
Vice President Bolton.
Yes.
President Moffitt.
Yes. Tonight's agenda is approved as posted. So this is the fun part of our agenda. Do board members have any acknowledgements or announcements? Board Member Lindy.
I have one, and I can be very brief, but I had a chance to visit Evanston recently, and I got a chance to see Ms. Simpson teach a class, a CTE Foundations of Business class, where the students were doing this just wonderful project around different career choices and sizing the amount of loans needed for different degrees, what the salaries were for those careers, what that looked like in terms of a monthly budget. And it was just such a wonderful example of, I thought, great teaching and learning. And I wanted to say how much I appreciated her work. That was Ms. Simpson at Evanston.
Great, thank you, Evanston. Any other board member, Craig?
So I get the opportunity to go watch, and I'm sure it'll be in the superintendent's kudos also, so I will probably steal a little bit of the thunder there, but I got to go watch the All-City Band at the Bengals game. I regret to say that I did not charge my phone up before I got there, so like 2 minutes into the game, my phone was dead for the rest of the game, but they were really awesome. It was really great to see. It is not often you get to see our students participating in something in a halftime show, rocking out to some good Michael Jackson and a bunch of other songs that were there. So it was a lot of fun. They had a good time. And then the woman who was sitting next to me was really excited when they started dancing. So that was her thrill of seeing the All-City Band perform at Paul Brown Stadium.
So I did have a couple pictures that were sent to me. The superintendent sent a couple too. So and then they got a little video, so we'll show a little bit of that.
Yeah, I got to be at the game and see the All-City Band too. And our former audit committee chairman, Tim Heldman, was there and sent in a really good video.
Oh, cool, cool. I don't know if people know we have a CPS All-City Band. That's what we're talking about. And the CPS All-City Band played for the halftime show at the Bengals game yesterday. Now, it didn't bring them any luck, but it didn't matter because they was jamming anyway. So, Rob, do we have the video a little bit?
And I just wanted to add, it was just such an exhilarating experience,
You were there?
being able to be with the students throughout the entire time, being down in the locker room. You see me mentoring, or talking to and encouraging Willie Stevens, or Tuba Willie is what they call him. He was just saying how the parades and the practices all led up to that moment, and how he felt really prepared and really excited. And so I just want to congratulate as well the dancers, the students in the marching unit. Everyone were exceptional. And also, I want to make sure that I congratulate just the hard work of their advisors. And so just give me a moment, because it may take a little time to get through all of the names, but I would be remiss if we did not mention them, okay? So Brandon D. Smith, the Director of Bands. Tyree Gilbert, Associate Director of Bands. Shayna Darden, Dance Auxiliary Head Coach, and I believe Miss Shayna is in the audience. Can you stand up, Miss Shayna? She had the dances on point. Miss Erica Render, Dance Auxiliary Head Coach for 7th and 8th grade. Sharon Stevens, Withrow Dance, Jasmine Parham, Hughes Dance, Jasmine Hayes, Gamble Dance, Terrell Thurman, Percussion Instructor. And I was passing out gloves because I was instructed that all of the musicians needed white gloves. And Mr. Terrell told me not the snares, okay? So I had to quickly take that back because he was getting me together. And Joshua Strange, who's also a percussion instructor. And also our administrative team is Emily Campbell, who worked tirelessly to make this possible for the students as well. Miss Maria Kinsenis, Jessica Sheely Green, Mike Davison. I know Amy Randolph was present, Dr. Smith, our deputy superintendent, as well as our superintendent. So we were down there on the field cheering them on. So again, thank you and great job to great job to CPS All-Star Marching Band and Dance Auxiliary.
Did we have like 30 seconds of it? Okay, we didn't have it. You guys, you have to hear it, but we're gonna just play like 30 seconds. So we'll make sure that this is on our website too. And then, what was the next one?
So this is
me.
yours. So I also wanted to just highlight our Deputy Superintendent Smith. She had the opportunity to present at the iReady Symposium in Columbus, and she did an exceptional job presenting on topics about how to bring the curriculum to life and being a catalyst for change for our students, and making sure that there's that alignment and that opportunity to grow within the curriculum and for our students. So I just wanted to commend our deputy on a great job. She was among other superintendents such as Columbus City Schools, Troy City Schools, as well as Pickerington. So great job.
This one is mine. CPS had a treasurer's open house along with our internal audit department and our auxiliary services. And they got a chance to sign the wall. So if you had a chance to stop by, learn about what Treasurer Gustin is doing, our brand new treasurer, then kudos to him, Lauren Haverkos, and the auxiliary services department as well. We had board members that went to the OSBA Capital Conference in Columbus, and we actually had presentations. And so we had 3 presentations, and these are some of the presenters. We've got Assistant Superintendent Klein, Assistant Superintendent Badgett, Chief Operating Officer Burkhart, and then the Director of Project Connect, Rebecca Beach. They gave great presentations, and so just kudos to them.
Jeremy Gallagher.
And Chairman Gallahue, along with my colleague, Vice President Bolton, we also did a presentation as well. So I'm sorry to forget you, Jeremy. Was that it? Was that it, Rob? Okay. All right. Superintendent Murphy.
Yes, ma'am. I have a couple more kudos and then one announcement about a retirees. We have a certificated retiree, and that is Miss Mary Kay O'Donnell Good, who is a teacher at Western Hills University High School. Congratulations. And then in my kudos, not already mentioned, I will skip to the School for Creative and Performing Arts and give them a kudos on Seussical, the musical. That was a multiple day performance. One day it was twice a day, and I just want to congratulate them on being amazing as they always are. And you've already mentioned, President Moffitt, the OSBA conference, and I just also wanted to say congratulations to CPS leadership in the presentations that were done at the conference. So same kudos. But now we're going to move forward to the kudos of the evening.
All right.
The major
kudos.
kudos.
Everything was a
major
kudos.
And I am tickled pink, and oh no, I probably should say green. Tickled pink and green today, with just the joy of the Taft Information Technology High School Senators football team on their run this season.
Woo! Yeah!
That was supposed to be the lead-in, but let me tell you a few things about this team. Oh, okay. Just a couple of things, because this is so amazing. We have our vice mayor is here, and we'll have her come up, and we have council member Scotty Johnson here as well. This is huge. But let me tell you, our district athletic director gave me a few points, and this is just even more history. This is the first time that a CMAC school has swept the season awards in 15 years.
Can we get the players to
check
come down?
this.
Can we get the players to come down? Can we get the players to come down and the coaches?
They're gonna come down first? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
It's all about y'all. Let's see.
Principal Lizick, they want your team to come on down. Come on down. While they're coming down, that 15-year history, you won't believe the last time a school swept the season like that. It was in 2010, and guess what? That too was Taft. And at that time, they were being coached by former Cincinnati Bengal, Mr. Mike Martin, and they had co-players of the year, Adolphus Washington. You may remember him playing not only at The Ohio State University, but also with the Cincinnati Bengals. And the second player was Mr. Dwayne Stanford. He played at Oregon. Congratulations. So in talking about sweeping the awards, Coach Tyler Williams, was named Coach of the Year. The Athlete of the Year, Mr. Hill. The Offensive Player of the Year, Mr. Tolbert Jr. The Defensive Player of the Year, Mr. Kirtley. The Punter of the Year, Mr. Holloway. And the Kicker of the Year, Mr. Mack. A round of applause, please. So at this time, I'll invite our Vice Mayor and our Council Member, Vice Mayor Jan Michelle Lemon Kearney, to the podium with our Council Member Scotty Johnson to the podium. They have a special recognition.
All right. We are so proud of Taft High School. Oh my goodness, you all just bring us so much joy. You bring so much positive notoriety to our city, and you've done so much, and we look forward to just even more from you. So give yourselves a round of applause. We are so excited. So I'm Vice Mayor Kearney and Council Member, Josh Harding, come on up. There's our CPS Athletic Director. Come on up. Yes. Oh, my goodness. Woo! I know he's happy. He's proud. Okay, so look, this is how we do things. We read every word of the proclamation from the city of Cincinnati from Mayor Aftab Purival because you deserve to hear every word. So we're going to ask everybody out here to help us with it. Okay? So the way we do this, when we point to you, you say whereas.
Okay, let's practice. Oh my God.
You got it.
We got it.
Loud and proud. Okay. Are you ready? Be it proclaimed by the city of Cincinnati, the 2025 Taft High School football team achieved many historic accomplishments on and off the field while representing themselves, their school, and our city. And, oh, well, okay, you got it.
I got him.
Did you point?
Yeah.
Okay, you get
I got it. Or should I turn and do this?
Okay. It's kind of weird because usually we're facing you, but okay, that works, Councilmember Johnson. All right. All right, let's try that again. And the 2025 Taft High School football team achieved a record of 11-1, including an 11-game winning streak, which is the longest in the school's history. Woo! And the 2025 Taft High School football team was undefeated for the entire regular season, including 8 shutout wins. You all really did us proud. And
the 2025 Taft High School football scored more than 500 points during their season while allowing only 66 points, averaging only 5.5 points allowed per game and scoring an incredible 45-plus points per game. And the 2025 Taft High School football was comprised of young men who were committed to their team and dedicated to success, with 19 players being recognized as all-conference players. And the 2025 football season will be remembered for its historical success and those who made it happen through long hours of workouts, practice, and studying playbooks. And while maintaining an academic success, this team brought pride to themselves, to their school, and to the city of Cincinnati. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed, as the Vice Mayor said, on behalf of our Mayor, Aftab Purival, the Vice Mayor of the city of Cincinnati, myself, Scotty Johnson, former SRO at Taft High School before any of you were born, we do announce that today, November 24th, 2025, as Taft High School Football Day in the city of Cincinnati. I want to say this. Let me say this. We're going to give that to you. But Taft, thank you all for representing this city in an amazing way when there are odds stacked against you every day. I don't have to tell you, you know that. But thank you for showing up. Thank you for doing it the right way. And we are so proud of you. Vice Mayor?
thank you, Taft High School. You showed up and showed out. You inspired all of us. Keep it going. We are here behind you 100% of the way. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Let's give them a round of applause.
TA. TA. So the coach is gonna share some words. Coaches, come on down. Well, we gotta have it on mic for the cameras. Come on, coach. We have to have it on mic because we got the cameras. Just, you could, here, you wanna do it this way?
And then, Rob, is that other video playable after he speaks, I guess? No. Yeah, please. Okay. Yes.
How's everybody doing? All right, it's a good night. Good night. First, I would like to thank everybody for coming out. Thank our administration. Thank our parents who have been amazing. It's been a lot of ups and downs throughout our season, but for our seniors, for our kids that stuck with us, it's been a lot of fun. I appreciate them so much. After the game, I didn't really get to talk to them too much about the whole season and everything that went on. But I did come in a few days later after we done sat around a little sad from our last game. I definitely wanted to be able to make an announcement to our seniors that you guys have been amazing. You guys have done everything we asked you to do. Playing for us is not easy. On my way here, I was able to talk to my brother, able to talk to my dad. And I always tell them that it's a long road to success. It's going to be bumpy roads. It's going to be different adversity that you got to go through. And one thing I can say about our kids is we never bowed down to it. We never made excuses. Our kids, no matter what we put them through from June all the way to now from our last game, they never batted an eye. We might have lost focus a little bit when games went on because we might have been up by so much, or it might have been in a game like Alter where we was losing. But it was always a joy. We always found funny moments. We always found an opportunity to push each other. And that's all you can really ask for from a coach. And our kids made the standard so high that it's almost hard to achieve some of the goals that we want them to achieve. And like I said in my message after the game, some people got to win and some people got to lose. That doesn't take away from our success that we had during our season. That doesn't take away from all the long hours that our young men have put in, because at the end of the day, it's bigger than football. I feel like I was put in a position to lead the youth on the field and off the field, and I feel like I do an amazing job at that. And just speaking on that, that's a reflection of my program. That's a reflection of the young men that I build. It's not easy being able to make these young men believe that they can go on to the next level, that they can go on to play college ball. Even if you don't want to play a college sport, you can still go on to college. You can do a trade. I think it's a big thing that me and my coaching staff are able to show these young men about having some great integrity, having a family, having a wife, somebody that I really respect. She's the backbone of this program, of what I do. She's the reason that I succeed so much. My grandmother, my mother, my whole family is involved. It's not just a one-person show. And I try to make sure my kids at TAF see that each and every day, so they're a reflection of me. And I hold them to that honor. I hold them to that standard. And I definitely want you guys to know that I appreciate you guys. Like I said, the parents, you did an amazing job. You've been amazing all season through some of our toughest battles. Through some of our toughest battles throughout the season, I've seen you guys stand 10 toes for our program, for me, and I want you guys to know that I'm so thankful for that. I wouldn't trade it for the world. And you guys have an amazing group of young men, and continue to support them, continue to have their back, and I thank y'all so much. TA.
So we want to make sure that the players know that there's pizza for you and your family. There is still some left. We didn't eat it all. There's still some over there. So make sure that you, in the cafeteria, the little cafeteria. I think Director Harden, are you gonna, it's all in the cafeteria. So make sure that you follow him to go over there and get some. And thank you so much for the high standards that you have. Yes, you can go now. You can go now. Superintendent Murphy?
No video?
Do we have the video?
I just want to play this video because this demonstrates the character of Coach Ty, if you don't mind.
So give us like 30 seconds for the video, y'all. Superintendent?
Somebody gotta win. That's what you gotta understand in life. Somebody gotta win. It ain't gonna always be in your favor. I hope as a man I can tell you though, to understand the small things in life though. I understand I don't get you over with everything I do in life. When I drive in my car to go to work, I know it's a chance that I might not make it back to my family. So I take advantage of that. I plan my day out. I make sure I spend time with y'all to love on y'all, to let y'all know how much I love y'all, because stuff like this happens. Football ends. Football ends. Some of us will go on doctors, lawyers, teachers, NFL players, and you're going to remember this moment. When you go to college, you're going to still talk about this. You're going to talk about this. We got a lot of memories we can talk about. I want you to all take this in, though, because this feeling never goes away. No matter if you're 50, 60, 70 years old, this feeling don't go away. There's no perfect message I can tell y'all. I'm sorry we went out like this. I'm sorry we lost. I'm sorry we couldn't go out the region or win a state championship. All right, I love y'all. All right, I know y'all gave us drop off. I appreciate all the parents that came out. You guys did an amazing job with this group. All right, it's not easy going 10-0 or 11-0. You guys did an amazing job all year long. The administration, you guys did a hell of a job helping to keep this thing together so we can win one game at a time. But it don't always go in our favor now. All right, parents, if you can, clap it up for the kids on this great day.
Thank you, Taft.
I wanted to say something
Yes,
just
ma'am.
quickly.
Board member comments.
So I just wanted to say, though the weapons may form, they will not prosper. I want you to know that the light will always prevail. And so I just congratulate you on being young men of valor. Thank you to the coaching staff. Thank you to the parents. Thank you to the players for showing up and showing out and being that model of integrity. So again, though those weapons may form, know that you are built with substance and character, and you will always withstand. So congratulations again, Taft.
Board member Weinberg.
I'm going to be very quick with my comment. I just want to first say congratulations to you all. And the one thing that I want you to walk out of this room and always remember is to walk with your head held high. Congratulations.
Vice President Bolton.
Thank you very much. The greatest thing that I think I can say to you is that you have not only well represented your city, but you are in the very proud tradition of Taft High School. I'm the oldest person up here, and I got to tell you, Taft's reputation is fantastic, and you have continued that tradition. Congratulations for being who you are, these senators. Congratulations.
Board member Craig.
So I will say this, I don't often talk about my dad. My dad actually played at Taft. My dad went on to play in the NFL. It's a journey that not everybody gets to make. And so be proud of the fact that you guys went in every day, fought hard, played well. I was at several of the games. It was exciting to watch. The thing I will tell you about going to a Taft game is you got to get there early because they put a beat down on early. And then I got there one game, it wasn't even done with the first quarter, y'all were up 28-0. Now, I'm just saying, let me get there a little earlier next time. But continue to keep playing well, continue to keep fighting for everything that you all are fighting for, continue to keep on your journeys, and go eat.
Board member Crossett.
TA.
Board member Lindy.
I have nothing to add beyond the wonderful words of my colleagues. I just want to say thank you for inspiration and thank you for a great season and best wishes.
And I'm gonna just wrap it up because I know I'm between now and food. Listen, I was a mom of football players, Withrow Tigers, and I know sometimes you hear all that noise around you and it gets in your head, but I want you to know, CPS, this board, this district loves you. And we stand with you proudly as a shield of protection for you. So please hold your heads up. Please know that you stand in greatness. You had an awesome season. And so that is what we're proud of. That is what we're celebrating, each and every one of you. Go eat. TA.
Thank you, parents.
So now we are going to, we gotta figure out where we are right now. We're at the hearing of the public. And I'm gonna turn the mic over to,
We're going to wait till everybody
we're gonna give you like a
exits.
30-second intermission.
Yeah.
And if you are leaving us, we ask that you do so quietly, as quiet as possible. Thank you. I'm going to turn the meeting over to Vice President Bolton to conduct our hearing of the public.
Thanks, families. Thank you, guests. We are now at the item on our agenda for hearing the public. Each speaker will have 2 minutes and will address all comments to the presiding officer. If you have any materials or presentations wanting to be distributed to the board, please give them to Board Administrative Assistant Phyllis Davis, who is here in the front row. If you're online, once a request to speak has been granted, you'll be invited to enter. You should click on the camera icon to go interactive. Provide your name, your affiliation to the district, your school community, your topic, and your contact information if you'd like a response to any questions you might have had. This request is consistent with board protocol, and we appreciate your help. In the unusual event that someone is not willing to follow this protocol, we reserve the right to end that person's time. Again, each person will have 2 minutes to speak. When the timer goes off, your time is up. Please refrain from any discussion of any personnel matters. After speaking, if you're online, you'll briefly see the welcome screen again as you transition back to the live stream meeting. Finally, we ask that your public commentary be respectful to all listeners. Thank you so much. And I know we have in person around 8 speakers. Rob, do we have anyone online? All right, well then we'll begin. And I'm going to call down to this main lectern where you see Jordan Davis, Kim Hawker, Candace Smith, and Danielle Wagner, maybe. Wagner, come on down. And then as they are starting to finish, we'll call the next several down. But please just take a seat here and be ready. We'll start with Jordan Davis. Welcome.
Thank you. This is my first time. Can you guys hear me?
Yep, you can raise the mic a little bit, maybe. Raise it up a little bit. See if that helps you.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Jordan Davis. This is my first time doing something like this, so I'm a little bit nervous. But I do want to express my gratitude for you guys being able to allow me to speak tonight. I am so excited to be here to be in support in the passing of this policy. As you can see here, I have parents with me, and we have been able to spend so much time here together. And just hearing their stories allow me to see just how passionate we are about our children's education. One thing that I felt like I dealt with as a parent was data transparency. I felt like there was a communication barrier between my daughter's teacher and I just felt like this policy would be able to be something that will allow me to close that gap. Another thing that I feel like is very important for this policy to be passed is me being able to intervene as a mother. If I knew my daughter was in the 3rd grade and she was, performing at a 2nd grade level, I felt like that gives me a chance to intervene, whether she needs a mentor, if she needs, a tutor, then that will give me a chance to intervene and be able to take action on her education. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Kim Hawker. Welcome.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. My name is Kim Hawker. My niece attends Data Montessori. I'm here tonight to it's hard for me to pronounce that word, advocate for proposed changes to our children's report card. Transparent report cards allow families to see when their children is struggling so they can act quickly. Every intervention can mean the difference between a child falling behind or catching up and succeeding. Thank you.
Thank you. Candace Smith, and as she is speaking, if Tarana Boyd will start on down, and Michael Cooper, start on down, that'd be great. Candace Smith. Okay, thank you.
Hello.
My name is Candace Smith. I have a 7-year-old, she goes to Rothenberg, and I have a 16-year-old, she was going to CCPA. I'm here to advocate my kids. My main concern was also the grades and the report cards. I know we have, I've been to a couple of you guys' board meetings, and I know y'all do give like graphs and stuff like that. I feel like a lot of parents are misinformed, like by their kids' report cards. I really was concerned because we actually want to know what's actually going on with our kids in a clear form. It's a lot of kids, different schools. I feel like some schools don't get the support as much as others, depending on where they be at. I don't know if you have kids that's actually in Cincinnati Public and actually physically go there, but me being in certain schools, it's a lot of things that a lot of kids don't get. And it could be for funding or whatever the situation may be. I feel like we should take a more in-person approach, especially when it comes to kids. You get some kids that with dysfunctionals, artistic kids. I feel like they should be having a more program touched on them, because a lot of parents struggle with that. And they feel like Cincinnati Public, they don't, not saying necessarily meet the needs, but I feel like we should really go into the schools and actually see what really it is. We can all sit here and talk about graphs and the percentages of stuff, but what is really being, done? A lot of the graphs that I've seen is not even up to date.
Well,
I'm
thank
sorry.
you very
I wasn't
much.
even finished though, but I just really think we should step in more. I feel like everybody is here for a job, but I feel like we should actually go to these schools and talk to the kids, talk to the parents. A lot of parents don't have awareness of what's going on, and that's a problem. We here, y'all the ones that, do what y'all do. I think we should go to each school and see what's really going on to really actually help the kids instead of having board meetings saying this, that, and that's that, and nothing's not being done. That's the problem I feel.
Thank you very much. Danielle Wagner, if I'm pronouncing that right, and then if Terry Y. will come down, that would be great.
Hello, my name is Danielle Wagner, and I have a child attending at Performing Arts. So my thing is, as I said before, as far as in the board policy meeting, is just making the report card just a little bit more simple for parents to be able to understand exactly where their child is, as far as where they're excelling proficiently, and then where they're lacking at, to where interventions can be put in place to get them to where they need to be. Especially for our students on IEPs and 504s, and those who are a little bit more challenging, have to deal a little bit more challenging as far as with, how I want to say it, kind of more like mental health, behavioral challenges. Instead of just throwing them out the classroom because we don't want to deal with them, we need to figure out exactly what's going on. How can we put a handle to this and make sure that these kids are actually learning? Thank you.
Thank you. Tarana Boyd.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is pronounced Tarina
Tarina.
Boyd. Yes.
Thank you.
And thank you. So good evening, President Moffitt, members of the board, and our community members. My name is Tarina Boyd, and I'm a proud mother of a CPS student, past CPS students, and I'm also the executive director of We Excel Cincinnati. And basically, here's the reality that we face. In CPS, 37% of our elementary students are proficient in reading, and 28% are proficient in math. This is not a challenge, it's an academic crisis. The question we must ask ourselves, if it's not for us to act, but why this is happening. and what we can do immediately to turn those numbers around. The future of these children, our children, is at stake. Today, we can take the first initial step towards honesty. As a parent and executive director of We Excel, I urge the board to vote yes today on requiring student performance levels like reading at third grade level to be placed directly on the report card. As a parent, I know that systematic accountability starts with transparency. We have set ambitious goals for our superintendent, and now we must give parents the tools to achieve participants in achieving these goals. Active participants, excuse me. If we are serious about improving proficiency rates from 37% and 28%, we must first commit to telling the truth about where our students stand. We cannot solve a crisis we refuse to fully disclose. Vote yes today. Let's empower our parents and take responsibility for the future of our students. Thank you.
Michael Cooper.
How y'all doing? My name is Michael Cooper, and I urge y'all to vote yes on transparency with the report cards, for the main reason being that a lot of parents don't have the literacy level to actually understand what's going on the report cards. And I got kids that go to Sands and kids that go to Fairview German. And their education is very important to me. And not all parents have the same educational equity, I could say, to understand what they're reading on the report card. So just being a little bit more transparent for parents to understand what's going on. And that's really it that's what I have to say, and vote yes on transparency for the report cards.
Thank you. Terry Y.
Hello, my name is Tori, and I'm with the We Excel program. I have a cumulative of 15 plus years in the school system with my children, and now they are graduated and moved on. I'm here to speak for the children that are currently enrolled in school, predominantly at Hayes Porter and Rothenberg, and which is where I attended. I just want to say that I remember a day back in the past. I had a speech, but I'm going to go off script here. A day back in the past when children did get those results, the parents received them. And if the parents and the students and the teachers work together and everybody's on the same page, then students are more apt to succeed in school. So if parents were able to get information and transparency on their report cards, that helped me tremendously when I was in school to be able to see what I was achieving, where I needed to be, how I needed to go, and my parents shared that with me. So I would love to see that again. It's important, it's necessary, and it existed before, so why not now? Thank you.
Thank you. Madam President, that concludes our presentations.
Well, thank you all. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for speaking with us today.
How do y'all feel about what we spoke on?
That's okay. All right. We're at this point. Board Member Weinberg, please introduce the following resolution.
All right, so being a part of the policy committee, we have resolution board policy 5120 that we are amending, enrollment in neighborhood elementary schools. The policy committee worked on this, and there were 3 changes that we made to this policy that we wish to move forward. And I can read the changes. Do I need to read the changes, or do I just need to read the policy? Which would you all prefer?
Can you summarize the changes?
Yes, so the changes that we made consist of the very first one, We took out the words computerized lottery process and we changed it to selection process. We also added in number 4, this particular sentence, out-of-district students who have a parent who is employed by the district have priority over other out-of-district students. And then in the end, we added that the neighborhood enrollment policy will be reviewed by the board and administration on an annual basis to ensure families have continued equity of access to district schools. And that is a summary of Board Policy 5120.
Board member questions, comments?
Second.
Well, no. Vice President Bolden?
Yes, thank you for adding that piece, I think, on number 4 regarding staff members. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, so this motion out here has been seconded. Any other further discussion? All right.
Mr. Craig?
Yes.
Mr. Crossett?
Yes.
Mr. Lindy?
Yes.
Ms. Mapp?
Yes.
Mrs. Weinberg?
Yes.
Vice President Bolton?
Yes.
President Moffett?
Yes. Board member Lindy, please introduce your next resolution.
Thank you. So I'm proud tonight to introduce an addition proposal to our grading policy that is coming to the full board with the unanimous support of our policy committee. The basic idea, was mentioned in hearing of the public tonight, is that when the report card comes home, in addition to the grades the students receive, this policy would make sure that the student's current reading level and current math level go home on the same report card. We've talked about this at the board meeting past. We've talked about this, I think, in 3 different months of policy committee meetings. But I thought I might briefly do just a couple things. Recap very quickly the origin story for where this came from and what motivated it, at least from my perspective. I wanted to then second go over some of the language that's in here because it really did come from feedback from the board in our last meeting and also a quite robust discussion we had at the last policy committee meeting. I wanted to flag some of the things that people influenced. And then just say a couple of thank yous, but I'm sure Board Member Mapp, Board Member Weinberg may have pieces they want to share as well. And I will try to do this as quick as I can. But Rob, could you go to that graph for a moment? That's great. So in terms of where the idea for this policy came from, thank you to the administration for all of your help with this data request. This is not the first time we've seen this. We looked at the very same page at our last board meeting. Our policy committee meetings looked at this 3 different times, but what each graph is showing is a different school, and it's showing on the x-axis the grade that a 5th grade student received in math. So a 4 is an A, a 3 is a B. The vertical axis is showing the score on the most recent iReady assessment in math. It's basically showing whether or not the student is on grade level. A 50 on that scale is at grade level. So if we look at school B for a moment and look at the blue dots that are in that red circle, you'll see that there are a series of students at this school who bring home an A on a report card, but are in fact 1 or more grade levels below where their same-aged peers are. And so as a parent, it wouldn't be unusual to see an A on a report card and infer, oh, my student's doing great. When in fact, as the data shows, the students may actually be quite far behind. And so what the policy is proposing we do is include this information on the report card that goes home. So the parents still get the same grade, same information is not changing. It's just that in addition, the parent gets information about the student's reading level and the student's math level. In an effort to be brief, I'll just say that as a parent myself, this has been really important for me. My wife and I were really first able to get our heads around some of the learning differences that my son has because of the iReady report that came home. The iReady report was easy for me to read because I've worked in public education for 20 years, and so has my wife. I don't know that they're the easiest things to read if you are new to that information. And I know that in some schools, those reports don't even go home at all. So as a parent, as an educator, as somebody who cares about data for a lot of different reasons, to me, it felt important to get this information out to parents and have a win for honesty. So, and I think I really appreciate the way people who came here tonight said this, but when everybody has the same information, we're better able to work together on behalf of children. So thank you for that. Lastly, if we could just look at the language for a sec, Rob. There are a couple things in here I wanted to call out explicitly. If we look at the red text below, none of the black that's what's already in the policy. We try to be clear about purpose in giving families access to data about student outcomes and proficiency compared to their peers. We talked about, by the way, that paragraph came from the discussion in policy committee. It wasn't there beforehand. I think it's better because we have it. Talks about timing. We were trying to make sure that this moves forward, but not rush it. So it says that this school year, that we'll just do it once before the school year ends, which I think gives the administration time to do this well. We also went back and forth about which grade levels to include. If you scroll down just a little bit, an earlier version of this had grades 6 through 8. We shrunk that actually to K through 6 because we think that it's going to be less confusing and easier to use the data that we have if we do it in a narrower age band. A couple other things. Members of the committee and the administration and people who joined the committee felt it was important to caveat what the data can tell you and what it can't tell you, that any one test is just a snapshot in time. So we were explicit about naming that in the policy. And then lastly, Board Member Craig had this beautiful point in our last meeting about the difference between a report card and a transcript. So we added a sentence in there to make it clear that this is about report cards. It is not about transcripts. So last thing for me are just some thank yous. I really appreciate the chance to look at this in the committee. I appreciate the way this idea got sharper and clearer over time. I think it's better now than it was a couple of months ago. I'm grateful for the colleagues I've had a chance to work with. I'm not sure if Board Member Mapp or Mrs. Weinberg would like to share anything.
Yeah, I'll just to kind of add to some of the things that you said, I'm grateful and thankful that we were able to, of course, add and make some changes. And as we saw here tonight, parents want to be informed. They want transparency. And I think this is a good step moving forward. And hopefully our parents are able to, be able to see the actual information as it relates to their students' academic success and being able to also partner with the teachers, being able to partner with any mentors or tutors or et cetera that they may need. But I think this is a good move for our district, and I'm looking forward to seeing it as it plays out. So thank you.
So I just really echo the sentiments of my colleagues. On the committee, we did have such a robust discussion. I was so grateful for the parent voice that was represented there because we didn't have to really rack our minds trying to figure it out when we had parents in the room that would be able to speak directly to what they also feel the needs are. And so we believe, or at least I believe, that is what helps to yield those outcomes, again, as it was stated, where everyone's working collaboratively. So not only was it about that transparency piece, I know that there was a stress about the data literacy, right? So ensuring that we're not just sending data home, but we're also having attached to the report card, breaking down a little bit further what this data suggests, in addition to what are interventions as well as enrichments that can be put in place to help support the parent and the student. And that is something that they will work collaboratively with the teacher on. And also, I know that Board Member Bolton had brought up at the last meeting a concern around labeling. And so I too wanted to ensure that that was not something that will be a concern or where it will be a self-fulfilling prophecy for a child seeing maybe not on grade level, right? So ensuring that there is that language that this is a snapshot in time And also, again, having that data literacy component so that everyone is working together. So we were really intentional, I believe, about how we address this and making sure that we were respectful of every concern that was presented. And so I feel confident about what is being presented because, again, we do want that level of transparency so that we can directly address the concerns, whether it is getting our child on grade level or continuing to ensure that our child is advanced and what are those enrichment opportunities as well, because everyone is at a different place. And so I feel confident about what is being presented today.
Okay, so motion,
Motion.
second. Board member discussion. Board member Craig, I'm looking right at you like, Tom.
So I wanted to first say to thank the committee for taking the feedback that was given at the meeting, incorporating it. I think it gives us a little bit clearer picture of what is also being communicated out. Because I do think to a certain extent, the importance of knowing where your child is really important. The importance of, but it may be more important to be able to have the discussion with the teacher in real time as to why a student may be doing well on a certain assignments and doing well on certain things, but not being assessed at that same level. I do think one of the points that we will still be figuring out, and I think this is, and it's worded this way for a purpose, is with regards to the junior high and high school students as to what information, if any, is applicable and can be presented out. And I think that's just something as we go forward, the administration has an opportunity to kind of see what works, what doesn't work, what information is being shared, what's not. But I guess the only thing I would maybe call to our discussion is just recognizing that K through 6 is the band at which we are doing this. So even some of the middle schools that are 6, 7, 8, we may have some situations where you have a 6th grade report card that has more information than a 7th and 8th grade report card. I don't think that's anything wrong with that. But I just want to make sure that folks understand at those schools where you may have the 6th grade assessment being done because it's what's being done on a regular basis, it's not necessarily done at the 7th and 8th grade.
Can I respond to?
Let me get everybody's, because I had the same concern, and I want you to.
It's addressing that. Yeah.
Okay. Vice President Bolton?
Thank you very much. I really appreciate the changes that have been made in the policy that's being presented tonight, particularly focusing on the younger students, because we really aren't testing in those upper grades that wouldn't even have that particular information to share. I'm also glad, too, that the effort to try to dissuade or make sure that no one believes that this is some sort of permanent labeling to a student. Appreciate that. I'm still concerned about our kids that are on IEPs, and I'm still concerned about our report cards aren't standard-based report cards as such. That's not what we're usually measuring, or standards. And I know we do communicate with parents about the OST on a regular basis, and I know we also have this knowledge that we should be sharing as the parents want to know this and need to know it. But I still have great misgivings about this. For me, as a retired teacher, to me, this is not the best use of a report card. But so I think I'll be one of the very few, if only one, voting against it. But again, I think it's an important discussion that hopefully can continue, and I'm glad to see an annual effort to reevaluate and move forward. Thank you.
Board Member Crossett?
Yeah, I think Board Member Weinberg mentioned it in the last meeting, but this information is available on Focus. So there hasn't been, I think it's important to say that there hasn't been like an intentional effort on the district to not disclose this information. It's been available, just in a different format. I think one thing that's really important to me, the new addition to this policy that maybe wasn't presented before, is the very last paragraph. I think it's the most important paragraph that is here. And I think it's really important that the information not be just like a grade. I think the idea that there is an intentional purpose for the teacher to provide information for the parents and to connect with the parents. And I don't know if it would be possible to add a friendly amendment, is that how we do it? To the wording, it says the district will provide a way for the teacher to provide additional context and interventions and enrichment. I'm wondering if it's okay to add the words, will the district will provide a way for the teacher to provide a progress and additional. I think it's important to know if the student is improving, is not improving, and what trajectory, what things could be done to improve the trajectory. So I'd like to see the word progress in there somewhere.
Very friendly amendment.
Please?
It's a very friendly amendment.
Yeah.
As the motion maker.
I hope so. I hope so.
Just for the treasurer, I think this would, in the last sentence, where it says, teacher to provide, right now it says additional context for interventions and enrichment. It would read instead, provide additional context on progress, comma, interventions, comma, or enrichment.
Sure.
And that way that's explicit and in there.
Yeah, sure. I can see where you could have a student that maybe is pretty low reading level at the beginning of the school year, and that student's making a lot of progress, and that student might deserve a pretty high grade, participation, attendance, all those kinds of things. And I think it's important that we don't necessarily have grades correlate to reading level. There's other factors in that, and I hope that the teachers can feel the freedom to recognize that. I think individual students get motivated for individual reasons, and so I don't want this to make our teachers feel like they have to have the reading level or the math level correlate to the grade every time. I also was curious. I know in our last meeting there was some suggestion that we were going to try to get some input from teachers about this. And I don't know if that happened or not, yeah.
Is it, well,
Hold
that thought.
Yes, Ben, you were a teacher, I understand, but I didn't know if any of the other.
So I want to give my comment, and then I'm going to let you all respond. I just didn't want you to have to respond after each one. So I really like this policy. I think it invites the opportunity for parents to be involved where I think parents are left out. I am concerned about just the K through 8 though, because if we have students who are coming from our competition and they're not on grade level in the junior high or the high school, there's no way seemingly for me here to see that that is captured. And so I would like to see or amend this to be K through 12, and then it can be altered maybe to look different in the junior high and the high school if applicable, but it should definitely not be excluded. I think if you've seen a high school student who cannot read, that is the most heartbreaking thing. And if there's no way for that to be captured, that the parent be invited in to know that their 10th grader or their 8th grader, well, we have K through 8, but that their 10th grader is not on level, that's concerning to me. So I would like to see it go K through 12 with the option to make it different looking if it needed to be. Also, slightly to Vice President Bolton's point, it needs to, whatever we are being measured by the state is what parents are looking at. They're not, so it needs to align with the state standards that we are being measured at. And I wasn't clear if I saw that. I think I did, but it wasn't clear because it's, I think it should be consistent. So if they pass the 3rd grade reading test, that needs to be on there and it needs to stay on there. If there's a 6th grade algebra test, that needs to stay on there. If they didn't pass that, that all needs to stay on there so that we get a snapshot of how that student is performing during their time with us. And so I don't know if it needed to be said there. I think we do not have enough alignment with parents. I heard parents here to say that they wanted to be involved, but that the charts aren't always the most clear. And also to say that it's in focus makes a pretty hefty assumption that everyone can get to focus and that everyone understands focus. So it doesn't need to be somewhere else for them to get that information. If we're going to have a report card that says the information, let that stand alone and not have them go someplace else to get interpretation of the information. And so for me, I just would like to amend it, hopefully, to K through 12, and maybe make an exception. I don't know what that would look like, but to have the exceptions in the policy around high school, that can be, it can look different, but I think the accountability piece needs to say it's for our entire district. And I also think that it needs to align with the state standards that we're already being recognized on. So I'm going to let Board Member Mapp go, because I just didn't want you all to have to respond after each one. Go ahead.
Thank you. I think you all are calling out some really good points that we were working through the committee process. And so I am just going to give high level. I do have Mr. Gollihue on deck. And also I'm going to call up Deputy Superintendent Smith. But to explain the rationale as to why it is reflected K through 6 is because that is the most consistent measurement that we have, which is the iReady benchmark assessment. And so as we start getting into 7th and 8th or in those upper grade levels, you're going to find that there's more complexity and less uniformity. And so one of the discussions, at least for now, was to have this be kind of a pilot to ensure that we are able to provide our parents with some type of feedback because there's different timing cadences with the metrics for these benchmarks. And so, again, just as a starting point and a foundational point, focusing on that K through 6 iReady, and also the language looks differently. So if we're talking about on grade level or whatever the report reflects, so it could be 2nd grade, 3rd grade, iReady is the only metric, if I'm not mistaken, that reflects that. The other point to call out is around the standards. And I'm going to have Dr. Smith speak to this as well. So when we're talking about alignment to the state report card, iReady directly aligns with those standards for the state report card, and also making sure that, with the MyPath or with the, I think is it just MyPath for reading and for math? Those are tools and resources that help support our students, which is directly aligned to the state standards. Whereas, again, the report card wouldn't reflect that information, but this is an opportunity to capture that data on the report card where parents at least know what the matriculation process looks like.
And she's absolutely right, Dr. Moffitt. The iReady is standard-based. It is aligned to the Ohio State Proficiency Test. And there is a Lincoln study that we can share with you that shows that there is 85% accuracy with the iReady aligned to the state test. So those standards are there. So that's why I think we went the K to 6 when I was there with the policy, because we have that consistency. We are now piloting iReady in some of our middle schools, and we'll see if that's going to continue next year. But there is that consistency. There's an alignment to the standards. It is a standards. They cover the standards that we need to make sure the students understand in order to be prepared for the state assessment.
So thank you. Let me ask a question then. I know she's bracing for impact.
I am bracing myself.
So if iReady is what we're using K through 6, what are we using to measure alignment of state standards in junior high and high school?
We use the MAP assessment.
Okay.
Yeah.
So-
And the MAP assessment, again, is connected to the Lincoln study. And when we look at that, there is definitely correlation between that. The difference is that iReady has an individually guided plan for students. So when I take my iReady, my plan is set for me to prepare me for the Ohio State assessment, to close gaps, to increase enrichment and all that is in the iReady. That is not in MAP. So that individual guided plan is not in MAP, so we have to desegregate that data, and then teachers have to create a plan of action. Now, we have Success Maker, which is part of it, but it doesn't do the same thing as iReady. That's the difference.
So my question is there a way to capture on grade level achievement in high
Jeremy's
school?
going to take it now.
Say again? Because if there's a way to capture it, then why wouldn't we just put it on the report card anyway?
So I think kind of to wrap that back into what we're talking about with the grading policy and that on standard indicator. So iReady is the only criterion referenced benchmark that we're using. All the rest are norm referenced only. What that ultimately means is, from a criterion reference, it's providing that grade level indicator, whether you're on grade level, above or below at some level. With the norm referenced, the closest thing you're going to have is a formative structure of like a percentile. So you're within a certain percentile of performance against all competitive takers of that test. So there's not really a apples to apples comparison to establish a clear indicator for grade level performance from MAP, the OST, or the end of content or end of course tests for high schools. Those three do not provide that criterion reference data that we would need to make that indicator.
I'm going to reserve, I'm going to go to my colleagues because I got more questions. Board Member Craig.
I just wanted to point out, it does say in the policy as proposed that it would apply to junior high and high school students where relevant data is available. So I would imagine at a point in time where there was data that was normalized and that we could be using to compare grade level, then the policy would apply to those as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Board Member Lindy.
I think this is great because it is recreating the conversation that we had in the committee. And this is not an area where there's a bright line, this is right, this is wrong. It's all just trade-offs. Jeremy's team had this great slide about you can do increasingly detailed things and it gets more and more and more complicated for parents to understand and for me to understand. And so I think what we were trying to strike was a sweet spot of really helpful information that we could do well without overcomplicating it. And from my perspective, that's a great place for us to start. I was trying to think of something we could add, though, to address your concern. And we've done this as a committee on other policies. We could include a sentence that creates a cadence for when the policy committee or the full board would revisit this scope on, say, an annual basis. And there's no reason if we have different assessments in the future, we might decide it's worth it. I think we'll learn a lot in a first year of doing this. But there's no reason we couldn't add something that says that this issue will get revisited each year by a relevant group. But I think these are all the trade-offs that we were talking about together.
Well, and Board Member Mapp said K through 6, but it says K through 8. Is it K through 6?
It's supposed to be K through 6.
Oh, it's supposed to be K through 6. Well, on on this one that I'm looking at, it says K through 6. I'm sorry. So I think that's fine. I just think that middle school is a turbulent year, and that's where we need to put parents in it. So I just hate that we're not doing a pilot with parents in the middle, getting information in the middle school years.
I think for us, we wanted to kind of start with K through 6. In our minds, we were thinking the younger that we could start with our students and really get them, then as they're progressing on to the other years. But I do understand what you're saying with including them as well. But I think this was our start.
Okay. All right. Vice President Bolden?
Yes, thank you. And I appreciate Member Craig calling out that particular sentence about when data would become available or that knowledge would be there. But I want to make sure and get on the record that that does not necessarily mean that this board is suggesting more testing for anybody.
No more, and that's what we're going to avoid.
I'm just saying that's opening a door that because would be counterproductive to our other policies, which, thank you. On the record, everybody heard it, so okay, thank you.
Board Member Lindy?
This is just to go to the issue that Member Crossett raised about teacher input.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I just say a couple of things. I think I really appreciate Karen Imbus being in every meeting from CFT. She was really clear about where her expertise was and wasn't, and she says this was not it. But we did receive some email communication from the policy committee from CFT. We sent them all of our materials. We sent them a link to the recording. I think Julie did respond in an email to me with some questions about how much work would it take to do this well. I think that's part of why we try to set a timeline where there's basically 6 months to do this for a first time. And also some concerns that we heard about IEPs or ELL students. I think, people may disagree about this, but I think that, as a parent of a student with special needs, I still want to know this information. I can't speak for anybody else, but it's really important to me. And I think parents have a right to know that. I think that the context that's being provided around growth and what this individual student's working on, all that can still come. but the information still has value.
Okay, thank you. Board Member Crossett.
Yeah, I'm empathetic to the Board Member Moffat's concern about not having something around high school students connecting with their performance level and their grades. So I do think that there's some amount of willingness to be patient with this, and maybe next year we can do the middle school and on and on. But I also think that we ought to think about some urgency around this as well, and maybe we can get innovative and creative and figure out something for our seniors and juniors who might not be as proficient as they are as they get close to graduation. Maybe there's something else that we can think about for them in a more short-term, urgent way, instead of having to wait another 4 years or something to get there. So just a challenge for everybody, for something to think about in an empathetic reinforcement of the concerns of Board Member Moffat. Thank you.
All right, okay. So we've got a motion on the floor. It has been amended. Treasurer Augustine, do you need us to read that again? Are you good? Are we ready for a vote? It's been seconded. All right, let's go.
All right, Mr. Craig.
Yes.
Mr. Crossett.
Yes.
Mr. Lindy.
Yes.
Ms. Mapp.
Yes.
Mrs. Weinberg.
Yes.
Vice President Bolton.
No.
President Moffat.
Yes. And we are now at Board Member Matt. Please introduce the following. So it passed, everybody up there. So Board Member Matt, please introduce the following, your following resolution.
Yes, so just introducing the amendment to Board Policy 9142, which is Local School Decision-Making Committee. We've had previous discussion at other meetings about making just a slight amendment to the role and scope of the work of the LSDMC, and that is outlined in number 14, where it says, participate in the principal selection process by participating in interviews and making a recommendation to the superintendent as provided. So the additional change would be just stating Board Policy 3111.1, which is directly reflecting the selection process of a principal, and then also adding the process shall follow the updated principal selection framework, which shall be provided to the LSDMC, and that was the framework that the administration, the superintendent provided, so just making sure that that is reflected and noted in the policy. And lastly, hearing feedback from the full board, a line stating an individual serving as an interim principal shall not participate in the principal selection process. And so those were the only adjustments made to the policy. And I submit the amendments as written to be accepted.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
And any discussion? Board member discussion? All right, it looks like we're ready to go. Great work, guys.
All right, Mr. Craig.
Yes.
Mr. Crossett.
Yes.
Mr. Lindy.
Yes.
Ms. Mapp.
Yes.
Mrs. Weinberg. Vice President Bolton. Yes. President Moffat.
Yes. Superintendent Murphy, please introduce our first presentation.
Yes, ma'am. We are very happy to present to you our elementary school update, and we have both Dr. Smith, our deputy, coming, and Assistant Superintendent Klein to share with you tonight.
All right. So we will not be before you very long. We're going to give you a quick overview and update of the things that we're doing and then allow you to ask us some questions. We're very excited about what we've been doing. We're excited about the work that we're doing. As Coach Tyler said, there's some ups and downs, some bumps in the road. We know we have some work to do, but we are here for it and excited. So today we just want to present to you our offerings and how we support our elementary schools. So right here you have our data. Rob, if you would click that. And this is our iReady data from the fall. And if you see this, you'll see some red, you'll see some green, you'll see some light pink, and it is fall to fall comparison from 24, 25 to 25, 26. What we do with this data is we meet with the principals, we look at our students, we look at where we are, we celebrate where we've had some wins. So anything where there's growth of more than 5%, it is green. Anything that is a decrease of more than 5% is red. And if you see like a little light pink, that means that they decrease less than 5%. This data begins our work when we come into school. The kids are coming off of the summer, they take the assessment in August, and then we begin to create a plan to do the work to get our students where we need to get them. We will be taking the winter assessment next week. We start with math, and then we will have a comparison of where we are from fall to winter, and then we'll create action plans based on that data. So you know with iReady, we have our MyPath personalized learning. 30 to 45 minutes is that sweet spot that students are supposed to be on there, and then they are to take 2 assessments and score 70% or higher. So you see that we are scoring much higher on our assessments on their weekly lessons passed, and up and down with the number of minutes. But the goal is to make sure that they are passing those lessons at 70% or better. They may not be spending as much time, but they are getting the work and they are passing the lessons. This is reading, and that is math. As you can see, math, they are above the expectation of 75% of lessons planned. All right, we've been doing our instructional rounds, and this data is from Assistant Superintendent Klein and myself. These are our 44 elementary schools. We're excited to say that we have seen an increase in the use of the curriculum as intended in our schools. So if you see the light blue, last year when we were doing instructional rounds in reading, we had about 40%, now we're at 63. In math, we had 80, we're at 84. Science, we had 12, we're at 51. In social studies, 2%, and we're at 51. We believe that this growth has happened because of the intentionality of the work with the coaches. They are going in and working with teachers. We have planning time that we set aside with teachers to do work with the coaches to make sure that the curriculum is in line, make sure they understand the pieces of the curriculum, understand all the parts and how they align to the data of the work. But also we've been doing collaboratives. Our collaboratives have been based on the data. So when we got our data back and we saw that we didn't move 5th and 6th grade the way we wanted to, we have a 5th and 6th grade collaboration. And in that collaboration, we are using the data and the curriculum to align those standards to make sure that that work is done. We have monthly data meetings with our principals, and these data meetings look at they look at all of the data from Tier 1, our comprehension checks, which are in iReady Math, our checks for understanding, which is in our ELA, in our reading. We have Show What You Know for social studies, and we have assessments for all content. We meet with our principals, we do walkthroughs with them, meet with them, talk about the data and how we can improve students' outcomes in Tier 1 and in Tier 2. All right, we decided as a team to do classroom walkthrough forms that were systemic. So they look the same across the district. The principals are asked to do at least 10 per week. They're asked to give teachers feedback. So we are at least, our goal is 40, we are getting to 43% or more of our principals getting that in and giving teachers feedback, looking at instruction, making sure that there's alignment to the work so that all the work that we're doing is systemic and that it is aligned. Next slide, Rob. So we have RIMPs, and that's for any student that is not on track. So if it's at K-2, K-3, it's on track or off track. If they're off track, they get a RIMP. They get a RIMP until they become proficient on the state assessment, right? And so each year we've been adding, now we're up to 6th grade. Next year, any 6th grader that does not become proficient on the reading test will get a RIMP in middle school. As you can see, we are increasing the number of students that get their interventions the way they're supposed to be done based on the data. So last year we had 73% in the 11 schools. This year we have 83% at 18 of our schools. As you can see, our RIMPs have increased from 24 25 to 25, 26, so we have more students that are on ramps based on whether they were proficient or not, or on and off track. So these are our tier 2, these are our collaborations. In our collabs, the teachers are there, they all teach the same content. So if we have 5th grade ELA, it will be all the 5th grade ELA teachers across the district. They go through the curriculum, they look at the data, they create action plans, they walk away with a plan on how to do the work with their students. These are the dates of when they've happened. As you can tell, we have done a lot of collabs this year, and we have a few more to go. We went to this model after we saw the success of Algebra 1, and we were doing the collaboratives with our Algebra 1 teachers. These are just some of our pictures of the teachers doing the work. We have 903 of our educators who are been trained in our reading intervention program. And now I'm going to turn it over to Assistant Superintendent Deb Klein.
Hold on 1 second, Assistant Superintendent. Do you want questions intermittently, or would you like questions? Since you're going to switch the subject, I didn't know if you wanted questions.
Superintendent Murphy, they were doing a lot of writing while I was talking. I'm looking over here at you. Yes?
Don't be scared. Do you all have questions?
Okay, so thank you with what you presented thus far. As you speak about the REMS, you talked about that the number of students receiving REMS are increasing.
Mm-hmm.
Do we track the data reflecting how many students successfully are egressing out of the REMS?
For the REMS, we do not have a data point where we go back and see. Our goal is really trying to get the kids proficient, but that is something that Emily and I talked about today, looking at each school and seeing how many kids are on ramps, and then how each year is that increasing or decreasing. Up until this point, like last year, you guys approved for us to get these research-based interventions. We believe that the number is going to start to decrease, because now when you saw that number up there, they are actually doing the interventions based on the kids' data. They are the right interventions. They're being logged so you can see where the kids are growing. And we also now have our MTSS up and growing, so that number should begin to decrease, because now we're doing this work systemically, right? So then we talked about that today, and I'm like, where's our data point? Is the number decreasing? Because our numbers increase, but they increase because if students aren't proficient, they immediately go on a ramp. And so we know that's the work we're doing right now, a board member map.
Okay, so you're saying soon maybe
Yes.
there will be an additional data point
Yes.
that we're able to
Yes, we're
see.
definitely going to get that additional data point, because the goal is for that number to decrease. When we
Yes.
began to look at the number and saw that it increased, that's when we began to say, okay, how do we know these things are working? Well, when we looked at how the interventions are being done and how they've increased from last year to this year, then we should definitely see a decrease of kids getting those reading improvement plans.
Okay, perfect. Thank you for that. And so my next question is, we obviously just passed the policy around grading and the report card, and so and having that level of transparency and opportunity for parents to be collaborative in this work. How are we involving parents in the development of the REMP, or maybe the monitoring of the REMP? Because I do know that they go out. I know every school is different, as you talked about systemic work and that level of uniformity. How can we ensure, or how are we ensuring that parents are engaged in this monitoring process as well, and have tangible interventions that they are able to do to support their children at home?
So the one thing that we definitely do for sure, and this is legal, right, because the REMPs are a compliance for the state, is that the REMP has to be signed by the parent. So if the opportunity, parents are supposed to sit down with the teacher, and it has to be signed. Even if they don't sit down, if they do a Google Meet, right, if they talk on the phone, whatever needs to happen, that parent needs to be and should be aware that their child has a REMP on file. That in that REMP, and when they have that conversation, they will duly be noted that they're supposed to have, that child will have interventions 3 times a week. And they could share with that parent what those interventions will look like, who will be doing those interventions, what materials we'll be using for those interventions. And so from our standpoint, we know these things are happening because we see the RIMPs. The RIMPs are logged in. We can look in the computer and we know what RIMPs are done. We know when they've had those conversations. So there's documentation there that we also have to make sure the state looks to see if we've done those RIMPs. So they are there. I think with the new policy that you guys just passed, and thinking about that, we're going to need to start with the principals and talk about what the report card looks like, then have some conversation where we have some parent opportunity to talk about what the new report card is going to look like, what the iReady is truly saying, when those are going to go home. So we will have to create a system so that there is a step-by-step on how we roll this out so that it doesn't get lost in translation. And that there's this snapshot of these are the expectations. This is where your child is, but this is what we're doing to get your child to where they need to be.
Perfect. I really like that. So thank you for that response. And then I'll just wrap it up because I know my colleagues want to go. I want to go to page 6 as you talked about the instructional rounds, and I'm happy to see that there is growth with implementing the curriculum amongst our teachers. I am concerned, again, calling back out the systemic work. We do know that we have a shortage of teachers.
Yes.
We do know that we have a lot of long-term subs, right? In which we also appreciate the work that they do as well. How are we ensuring that level of alignment and cohesion with our long-term subs receiving the support around the curriculum implementation, what those expectations are? And because it may be a situation where a teacher's not able to be in the classroom for the entire year. And so how do we still ensure that there's not learning loss or a gap in place with that certified teacher being absent? So how are we making sure that there's that alignment there?
So I think one thing that we do as a team, the assistant soups and myself, we meet and we talk about what the schools need. And when we realize that there may be a long-term sub in the building, then we send coaches in to work with those long-term subs. We help them, they sit down, they do planning with them, they show them the curriculum, they walk them through the curriculum. So it just depends on what content, but we are definitely aware that we have a lot of long-term subs, and many do an amazing job. So we just try to make sure that we're constantly in conversation, then in conversation with the instructional coaches, to ensure that we are providing them the support that they need in order to do that work. That comes out of our conversations with our leaders. And when we find out we have a 6th grade teacher that's going to be out the rest of the year, so we're going to make sure that the instructional coach goes and sits down with that teacher, make sure they have access to everything that's in those curriculums, and we make sure that they get what they need. And we'll put them on a 2-week cycle where they are going back every 2 weeks to make sure that what they're doing is working and what other additional support we need. I also know that Human Resources does some things with our long-term subs. They do some training with them as well to make sure classroom management, there's some things that they do as well with them. So we do have a working plan. It looks different at each school.
Okay, perfect. And I know that we're only reflecting the major content areas, but do we do an audit of maybe those additional content areas like technology or things of that sort where there may not be a curriculum in place? Are we monitoring and auditing that work?
Yeah, everything that impacts the kids, we're trying to make sure we watch it. Because our tests, I'm just going to go to tech since you went there, because most of our test is online. We have to make sure that the tech understand that our young people have to know how to highlight, how to cut and drag, how to lift up. There's so many pieces that, and especially our 3rd graders, for the first time they're taking it online, they have so much to learn. They're learning the content, and then they have to learn how to work the computer in order to make sure they do well on the assessment.
Thank you. That's my question.
Board Member Weinberg. Yes, thank you, Board Member Mapp. You brought up a couple of concerns or a couple of questions that I had as well, so thank you so much. Great presentation so far. I did have a couple of questions regarding, one comment. Thank you so much for elaborating a little bit on the RIMP and the process. I do think sometimes families, and kind of what I've heard is, they don't necessarily understand what the RIMP is, what the interventions mean, and I think for you to be able to share the process so that parents and families and students know that once their child receives a RIMP, there are different stages and steps and check-ins and interventions and then follow-up. And I do like being able to receive and get data points on trying to decrease that number as well. If you could go to slide 3, we don't necessarily have to click on the link, but I just wanted to make sure that I understood in terms of for the data review. You know that I love looking at data.
I see.
So I spent my time just kind of, as you were talking, looking through this, and
Rob just blew it up so big so that
yeah.
you can see it so well.
And it's okay. So the question is, you may have said this, what is the plan for the schools that I saw that had a negative?
So what happens with, as the assistant superintendent?
Hold on with that.
Oh.
And
you
with
got
that question,
Okay,
yes. So
I'm
with
sorry.
the school, the process of what would be the plan for those schools that have a negative, and then what are we seeing in terms of the goal of, I guess, the next time we test? Your plan would be, of course, to shrink that negative 20 to hopefully a positive 20, 30?
Absolutely. So once we get this information, once we get the assessment, Board Member Weinberg, we meet with our principals. We go through this data with them, grade by grade, student by student, talk about what's going on, what happened, what does this child need. Look at the instructional, look at when they have their intervention time, when is their enrichment time, what materials are they using, how are they going to assess to see if their interventions or enrichment is working. And then when we visit the school weekly, bi-weekly, we are going in to make sure that instruction is on pace with the instruction, to make sure the standards are being taught, to make sure that the principal has what they need. We're actually making sure that they celebrate kids. Along the way, for mathematics, we have comprehension checks. We can see those comprehension checks. They are tracked on a form, and if the class goes below 70%, then we go back into a whole class reteach, right? If it's higher than 70%, then they go back and they work with those students that scored below, and the other ones get on iReady because they already have their working path. So this is the work. The data, that's the work. It guides every decision we make. It guides how we meet with them. When we walk those buildings, we're in classrooms, we're looking to see what kids are doing. Are they using materials? Or do we see manipulatives? Are they using the workbooks that we've put in place for them to use? Do we see writing? So everything that we're doing is aligned to what those kids need based on that data in front of you. We review the data with them when we go in. So for math, I told you this comprehension checks. For reading, it's check for understanding. For social studies, it is the TCI. And for science, it's show what you know. And so we've really put an emphasis on when you're teaching, how do you know if students have mastered what they've taught? The only way to know if I mastered is to give me 1 or 2, 3 questions to see if I know it, because if I can do 3, I can do 10. Right? So you should not see all that red when we come back before you after the winter assessment, because the students have been sitting in our seats now since August. And we've been trying to ensure that they are getting the instruction that they need.
Okay. And then my last question would be, what are you hearing, whether it's from teachers or families, in regards to students having test anxiety? So for example, they're taking the test, they just are very super nervous, afraid, and it reflects onto their, I guess, end result. Are you hearing anything about that?
I really haven't heard anything
that's
about
good, that's
testing
good.
anxiety. I'm not saying that it's not out there. I just haven't, my principals haven't shared that with me. And Ms. Klein might be able to know yours either. We try to make sure that the principals are setting a safe environment where kids know this is about improvement and growth. We try to talk to them in that way, like we got to move our kids, but how are we moving our kids? And we try to make sure we lead in with love. Yes, we have high expectations, and yes, we want our kids to move, but we understand that each one of them are different, and they all come to the table with different things. And so we're hoping that people aren't just pushing kids and you got to pass the test, you got to pass the test, you got to pass the test.
And that's what I wanted to hear.
That we are taking our time and making sure that we understand the whole child. And those that, if they have anxiety, we tell them to hold on, and y'all have conversations with kids, right? And we make sure they should know their students to the point that they know who's struggling and who's not.
Okay. Thank you so much for saying that. Appreciate it.
Board Member Craig.
So I'll try and be quick because I know we have a second half of this presentation along with another presentation to be done today. So I wanted to first say that I think it is a good sign that we're seeing more of a full use or full and proper use of the curriculum in the classrooms. that when we raise the attention to it, then folks are paying attention to it, and then it's more discussed. So I think that's an extremely good positive point. I want to piggyback on a little bit of what Board Member Mapp had mentioned with regards to some of our classes that have long-term subs in those spaces. And I do think this is part of the reason why we do need to make sure that we're putting together some type of development plan. So when the superintendent gets back later, we have that discussion when it's later on the agenda, raising that point of how do we develop our teachers so that when we identify places that are difficult to hire, that we can actually build some of our teachers that are in the system up so they're prepared to go into those roles and prepared to take over those roles if that issue became apparent. And so I think that's a great sign as well. I do want to also briefly just kind of ask in this kind of context to it. I think one of the things we have a struggle with in our district at times is that we put a lot of things into a classroom to assist with the students. We make sure that, we are talking about it. The teachers have the information, principals have the information, parents have the information. So what ends up happening is that sometimes parents ask for things that are not necessarily connected to what their student needs or the struggles they're having. And so I wanted to make sure that what we are not doing at times is adding like overload of options and opportunities and information for folks so that that it's not connected to what the actual issue their child is having, right? So like if you have a student, for instance, who's having test anxiety, testing more does not necessarily remove testing anxiety, or making them practice tests doesn't always remove the testing anxiety. But there may be other strategies and other things that are brought to that case, and that gets a little bit, again, I think people have talked about it before with former board member Morosky talking about that individualized kind of assessment. That's a tougher thing to do when you have 30 kids that you have to come up with. And so I guess maybe one of the questions I would have is, as we're looking at those opportunities for teachers to do that, and as we talk about our new policy that allows for parents to have a clear understanding of where their child is on the reading level, there may be a need to set aside time that's specific to like some form of, or set aside someone's time. It may not necessarily be the teacher, it may be someone else in the school, whatever, to be able to more coordinate what's being done and inform so we can better understand where we've seen success on certain specific areas, right? So like sometime of the day, maybe not in a school day, maybe later in the year or whatever, to say, okay, where children are having this issue, we've seen a lot of results with this method, not as many results with this targeted approach or this method of approach. And I don't know if we're doing any of that kind of after the fact assessment of what's worked, what's not worked, where we've seen things that have been really bring a better return on investment, I guess is the best way to say it, because I think sometimes what we've done is we're going to throw everything out there that we possibly can, but we don't know what's really worked in the best way at times and what's not worked or what's been successful. So I just, maybe the question is, do we do any reflective conversation after the fact on kind of that return on investment type of conversation?
I believe we do it. I don't know to the detail of what you're saying. So one of the ways I would say to you, I know for sure that we do it, is that we visit each other's buildings, right? Our principals go to buildings and they walk each other's buildings. They look at the things that are going well, and those principals actually can share what they've done to get to that space. We also look at the data, and I would say to you, I would use Hayes-Port as an example. They've been coming out 75, 80% in the fall with their third grade testing. So we went down there, we met with them. We actually had their team lead the training for all the other principals and their teachers. So it was reflecting on what are they doing that's working that we can replicate in our other schools. We do that all the time when we look at data. What's happening over here and not over here? What can we learn from this over here? So I think we do it to that degree. I don't think it's systemically. I think we look at the data and look where the kids are, and then we go and we try to see what is, especially if it's kids that look like our kids, are they same kind of community, right? And what's happening in those communities. So we do that, but I don't know if it's to the depth that we need to, but we definitely do it.
And again, I say carve out time because I recognize that all of you all are doing so much with so little free time in any way, in any person's day. So I do appreciate that. And then I guess the last thing I will just kind of add to this, my thought on this, is also just recognizing that we have done a tremendous amount of growth in some of our math scores. I don't think it's a mystery to the fact that if you look at where our curriculum usage and effective usage is the highest, it's in the area where we seem to be getting the results.
Yes.
So maybe to Board Member Lindy's point, I think the results may prove the necessary lesson to gain there, which is that the more faithful we are to the curriculum materials, again, especially science, social studies as well, seeing that growth and tremendous growth there, the more likely we are to see a return on that result for our students. And so I think it is highly attributable to how we are teaching in the materials that are in the classroom more so than even anything else that we may be doing.
Okay, great. Board Member Lindy.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the whole presentation. I just had one question about the slide that we're on right here. The comparison to last year in ELA in using curriculum as intended is 40% on this slide.
Yeah.
I remember.
So it was lower last year.
I remember
Yeah,
the
yeah.
number being 27%. I'm just trying to figure
Yeah.
out how to crosswalk the two.
Yeah, I think what Emily did was look at whether we saw some of the curriculum at that time versus the number where we originally saw and gave you was we didn't see the curriculum at all. So I think she mixed those numbers up, but it was much lower. You're right, it was. Yes, and I fixed that.
I think where I'm coming from is I don't have a strong opinion that it need be X or need be Y.
Yeah.
Where I do have a strong opinion is that we do it consistently, whatever it is,
Yes,
you know?
yep.
And so if you.
I'll have her look at that.
Just let me know.
Yes, I will. I will,
I would appreciate
absolutely.
that.
Yes.
Mr. Lundy, it may be when you got the original data last year was from instructional round number 1, maybe.
I have both. Like,
Yeah,
I'm looking
okay,
at it right
yeah.
now, and it said round 1 was 4.5%,
Yeah.
round 2 was 25%,
Okay.
and this says 40%.
I just need to talk with Emily and see where the mistake was.
And
Yeah.
look, zooming out, it's going up.
Yes, it is.
Right? So like, I don't want to miss the
Yes.
forest for the trees,
Yes.
and I appreciate the
Yes.
hard work.
And thank
I
you.
think that we can
Yes,
use the same
we make
terms and be
sure.
helpful.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
Board Member Crosset.
Just a quick question. On this chart, it says percent of classrooms visited. Is it 100%, 50%? At the very top?
Where are you?
Right under
Percent of
the-
So that means when we go into the building, it just depends on how many classes. Some buildings we see 10, some we see 9, some we see 5, depending on the size of the school and where they are on the schedule.
Let me re-ask my question.
Okay.
What percentage of all the classrooms, were we consistent year on year visiting the same classrooms or the same number of classrooms or the same number of schools? Or how do the rounds work?
So the rounds work, they are based on, as a matter of fact, I think we have 20 schools. So they're based on whether they received a 2 on the state assessment, and we call them our tiered schools. So the number of schools we visit would be our 20 schools. So I have 10 identified, and Assistant Sue Klein has 10. So, but it also depends, Board Member Crossett, when we go into a building, just think if the teacher is out sick at 3rd grade reading, we might go in there and just look and see if the material's been used, but not necessarily count that as a classroom that we saw the teacher teaching the curriculum.
I got it. Thank you.
I was just going to ask, thank you, Board, I think everybody's gone. I was just going to ask, are the things that you all have implemented a result of what you found was part of the reasoning why we went down in some significance in certain schools?
Yeah, I would say that when we went back and we sat and talked about where we are and where we wanted to go, where we were missing things, the curriculum played a big part in what we needed to do. Consistent assessments, making sure that we were making sure if teachers teach it, how do they know if kids mastered? We've really been pushing on that this year because it was inconsistent for us last year, like making sure that that happened, actually creating documents. We can actually go to a document and see where children are and where they're growing, and when they're not, what do we need to do differently. I think also being intentional about principals doing classroom walkthroughs and providing feedback, and then our team going in and talking with them about their classroom walkthroughs and looking at the feedback that they're giving teachers. And what we've learned about feedback is it just should be bite-sized. It should be something that they can do in a week. And we're given these long lists of things that can't be accomplished. So we really adjusted the way we looked at the work. And so, yes.
So I'm just kind of curious. I think it was slide 3 where there was the link, and I've heard from, I think some people in the public can't see the link, so we may need to adjust that too. But when we look at some of the scores and just the data where we landed for this upcoming year, it concerns me that we need to address how we got here.
Yeah.
And so that's what I was asking is some of the scores that we're seeing, to Board Member Weinberg's point, some of these numbers are significant in some schools that didn't have such significant drops before. So I'm wondering what were the takeaways? I think that was an assignment before for a while ago. What were some of the takeaways and how we got here so that we could pivot if we needed to? And so I'm just wondering, is part of this the pivot?
This is the pivot.
Okay.
I would say that we really took a look at where we were, talked about each one of our leaders, tiered our support for them, looked at our own self and what do I need to do differently to support the work in the schools. We took a deep dive into where we were and to where we wanted to go. And so I would say to you what you see now, and part of it is lots of conversations about the work, Dr. Moffitt, because I could say to you at some of the schools, there was a long-term sub, or these kids have now for the second year in a row not had a teacher. So we know what the data says about that. And I would say to you, just really digging in, that you get a group of kids that are off track, and you really gotta dig in and provide those interventions to get those young people back on track. So there's some work that had to be done for that.
Okay. All right, thank you.
All right.
And Assistant Superintendent Klein informed me she was going to be brief.
I will be brief, I promise. Part 2. So I get to highlight the programs and many other things happening at the schools that complements the academic work that we're doing. So on this slide here, we wanted to call out our 2 programs, leadership programs, the MORE program and Girls to Women. We have 32 of those actively in our schools, and then 20 Girls to Women in the elementary program as well. Next, we have Rosie Reader. This is an early literacy program that we are doing with some of our K-3 schools. We have 18 schools participating, where we are sending books home with students every week, and they have the opportunity to read books at home with their families, and again, promoting literacy in the home at those early grades. On the next slide, we have the Montessori program, and wanted to call out that our Montessori Lab School opened in August, and that was an exciting piece for us this year. So they opened with grades preschool through 8th. We had 8 classrooms that opened up there. The picture you see is an actual one of the Montessori classrooms over there at Bramble, so super excited about that. Also, the Montessori Teacher Education Program is getting ready to roll out in June, so planning for that is underway. Keeping in line with programs, many of the schools offer STEM activities. This is just an example of one that is happening over at North Avondale Montessori. There is a video at the bottom. We are not watching the video, but it is there for you to check out. Some really cool things happening over at NAM with this project, the Mini Dome project. Really hands-on activity correlating to science and the standards in science. Next, we have the arts, which again, fully complementing what we are offering at our schools. So October 16th, we had a Fall Arts and Cultural Festival. We had 17 schools participate, 350 families and students. You see some pictures there as well, with music and artwork that focused on North America and South America. Of course, as you know, we cannot do this alone. It takes all of our partners and our families. So on this slide here, we have a link. You can click on it if you want, but you don't need to. It's there for you to look at. But it is a list of our PTOs, PTAs, parent engagement groups. You'll see that we have 33 active parent groups across the schools, and 14 of those are in progress and will soon be added to that 33. So there's a complete list there that you can see across all of the schools, not just elementaries. So along with families, again, we have partners. This is an example of something that happened at Roll Hill. This is a traffic garden. This is a mock-up of it, but they actually partnered with the health department, Discover Traffic Gardens, the Ohio Department of Health as well, created something like you see here out on the playground where students can go and practice safety in the neighborhood. So they actually got new bikes, roller skates and such, and they can move around a space that looks like this and looks very much like their community to practice safety. So that was in partnership with some of those groups there. Next, we have also at North Avondale Montessori a partnership with Keep Cincinnati Beautiful, their Safe and Clean grant, donations from Urban Bloom and some others. And this beautiful, living, vibrant flowers that are really around the whole school, not just the front office and the lobby, but are all over. But we have students who are taking care of this. They're called the Leaf Legends, and they're taking care of all the plants around the building. And again, at the same time, learning about science, the environment, and collaborating with others in taking care of those beautiful plants there. Next, we have Douglas. You may have seen this earlier in the year, received a new playground in partnership with Cincinnati Reds, Procter & Gamble. They also received a mural you can see being painted over there on the right. Reese E. Price, also in partnership with Keep Cincinnati Beautiful, Green Schoolyards, Fidelity Investments, received an outdoor classroom and garden. And so you can see some of the things that they are growing there. This is some more pictures from outside and also inside the classroom while they are learning. So of course, another focus within the schools is our positive school culture. And we wanted to call out and recognize, this was just released by the state. We had 8 schools, elementary schools, that received the Bronze Award for the fall of '25. You can see those schools listed there. We're very excited and proud of the work that they have been doing. On the next slide, you'll actually see what it was that they had to do. There are several things listed on here, but a couple of the things are around a self-assessment that they had to do, but also a walkthrough that happened, and where we asked students and we asked teachers in the building if they could identify the school-wide expectations. And you can see there that they had to have 90% of their staff that listed at least that did list at least 67% of the expectations. So we have a high response for adults that know the school-wide expectations, as well as our students at 70%. And then we also look at the acknowledgements that are being delivered, so the reinforcement that we're giving to, positive reinforcement that we're giving to our students. And there were a couple other things listed there they had to do, looking at discipline rates as well. And this was all submitted to the state in an application. And then again, we had those 8 schools that were just awarded that by the state. Chronic absenteeism, again, is a focus, and we certainly want to keep an eye on that number at all of our schools as well as for the district. So having a focus on this, we are having individual conversations with schools about their plan, about how they report their plan, but also how they how they report their attendance and take their attendance. We have social workers doing classroom visits. We have incentives in the classrooms and in the buildings for the students as well, and celebrations, such as we have dances, and there's been pizza parties and all the things, but really trying to encourage and thank those that are coming to school every single day. And then finally, of course, at our elementary schools, we have a lot of athletics and extracurricular activities. There's a link there. Again, you can click at your leisure, and we'll list all of the things that are happening across the elementary schools. But I do want to call out, we do have district-sponsored athletics happening at many of the schools, fall, winter, and spring, such as flag football, volleyball, soccer. We have academic enrichment programs that are happening, such as the Brain Bowl and all of our Schedule E clubs as well. And then we have 8 booster programs that are happening at the elementary schools, athletic booster programs as well across the elementaries. So wrapping it up, our next steps really is continuing round 2 of our instructional rounds. We actually started this past week, or this week maybe, with those second rounds. So excited about going back to the schools, seeing improvement, more increased use of the curriculum. We're getting our 3rd grade data back, hopefully this weekend. It's due Monday, but usually it comes early. So we'll be looking at that and creating action plans. December benchmark testing, Dr. Smith had mentioned that. That's happening when we get back from break in December. And then we're going to take that, meet with all of our principals, our teachers, coaches, and we'll have a reset based on that winter data. So someone had mentioned earlier, we have that 1 data point. Now we'll have a second one, hoping to see increases there, and then creating action plans that will take us up until Ohio State testing in the spring. We are also looking at our MyPath usage. That data point was shared with you. We'll continue monitoring that, the usage, as well as the percentage of students that are passing the lessons. And then, of course, we're going to continue our professional learning collaboratives as well as we support the teachers in this work. And that is all that we have.
Thank you.
You're
Board members,
welcome.
any questions? Mr. Crossett?
Quick question. The testing is going to be the week after Thanksgiving?
Yes.
And is that the same week as last year?
Yeah, this is our winter benchmark. Yes, I believe so.
So it's always the week
It's around
after
the same,
Thanksgiving?
Yeah. Now, we don't want to test on Monday when we get back. We
I
don't
was
wanna
going to
do
say, you
that.
probably got some vacation brain there. or
Right,
something,
yeah. So most of the schools will be testing Tuesday and Wednesday, Thursday. They all have developed a schedule around that. Yes.
Board member Crossett? Craig?
So one, I wanted to recognize that there is a lot of things that are going into making sure our students are successful and have opportunities to explore things that are outside of what they normally would know about or see or do. And so I appreciate all the hard work that goes into making sure that those opportunities stay in our schools. To the winter data numbers, I think one of the things I'm hoping that we will see, and as we talked about at the Committee of the Whole meeting, we had our fall benchmarking, and I think my hope is that what we will see with regards to the winter numbers as they come in is the growth that some of the opportunities that we've put into the classroom, some of the work that has been done, the expanded use of the curriculum, all these things will show the effect of that. And I guess that's maybe my kind of question to you is the expectations and the hopes are as we do those things that they will be reflected into those numbers, and then we can then do an assessment afterwards as to what additional resources or things need to be done to help. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the winter data is going to give us a lot of feedback, right, and direction on what we have been doing. Are we headed in the right direction, and what else do we still need to do going forward? Of course, as Dr. Smith mentioned too, we'll continue progress monitoring along the way with all of the different content areas that we have, so it's going to give us a lot of information, again, on what has been working thus far. And we certainly hope, and we have seen, right, anecdotally, we have seen things have improved and are looking up, but now we'll have the data to support that.
Vice President Bolton?
Yes, thank you. Just to backtrack just a little bit to the Bramble efforts, and you said that we're going to be starting that at the end of this school year, or?
The teacher
Teacher
educator
education?
program. Yes, our first cohort will start in June. We have about 31 teachers across the district who are currently not Montessori credentialed. So they would be the ones that would be starting in cohort 1 in June. And it's a 2-year program where they would then earn their credential, their Montessori credential.
How long will it take, or is it something that happens or doesn't happen at all? The national or international Montessori group would sanction our center, or how does that work?
Yeah, so we actually just opened up the application with the American Montessori Society this week. So that's who we're working through, and we'll be getting that accreditation through for our program.
So
it's a multi-year process as well. We'll be able to start our program with our teachers in June while we're continuing the certification through the American Montessori Society as well.
Okay, and then we anticipate that it won't just be for our teachers?
Correct. Yeah, years down the road, a couple years down the road, once we have all of our folks Montessori credentialed, we'll want to open that up to others in the area. And could be nationwide, could be worldwide as well.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
So I had a question about that as well, if you could leave that there. The intention behind, I know I can only speak for myself, but my support of this was that it become revenue generating. I think it's great that we're providing this opportunity, but it comes at a cost. So when do you anticipate, you said a few years down the line, I don't know if we have a few years, when is this, are our staff that are attending this beginning in June paying to attend this institute, or is
They are
this-
not. We are working within our budget and then also through some grants and so forth that we're looking into to be able to provide this for our teachers, and certainly investing back into our teachers so that they become credentialed and then we retain them and they are in our schools here in the district.
Well, I'm absolutely supportive of that, but I would love to see the plan around when, because that has a cost, and it's a significant cost. I think to Xavier University, it was tens of thousands of dollars. So that I'd like to see the budget for that, so that we're aware of. This is the very first that I'd heard that it was actually opening, but I would love to know what the plan is for that to be self-sustaining, if not revenue generating for the district. And I think, any other questions? Thank you. Oh, wait, Board Member Matt, what's the question?
I do have a question about the Montessori. So I know that with the merger, it was for the students that were previously at the Xavier Montessori Lab. What does that look like for CPS students that would want to attend the Montessori school?
Yes, we fully anticipate during the school selection process that we'll have families from across the district that will be choosing to go to Bramble. We're anticipating 3 to 6 students, which are earliest level of Montessori, the preschool, kindergarten, that we have interest in those seats. They're currently full. We also have spaces in the 7th and 8th grade currently. And we know some of our families leaving, Sands, North Avondale, some of the others might not quite be ready to go to a big high school and may want to choose, Bramble as well for their 7th and 8th grade year. So the school selection process isn't over yet, but we'll certainly be looking at that and anticipating that families may be selecting that also as an option.
Okay, thank you.
And I have one more question. Sure. We had spoken, when we talked, this was about a year ago when we were trying to make a decision around Clark. There was interest in a suggestion made around having a Montessori advocacy group that consisted of teachers and parents and our Montessori trained teachers and our parent advocates, particularly Clark wanted this. Yeah. Is that plan implemented at all?
So there is, to my knowledge, an existing coalition, Montessori coalition, that does exist with families, some principals, teachers, et cetera. I'm not sure if they have met recently or not, but they do, in the past, have met regularly, and then we collaborate together. I will certainly look into that. I've not heard anything recently from, usually the Montessori principals are the ones that are in touch with them.
Okay, that would be helpful. I know that was one of the things that came out of that whole piece around the Clark Middle Schools, that they wanted to be intentional. Gamble, Clark, parents wanted to be intentional with how Bramble looked and what we did moving forward. Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
All right, thank you so much. And board members, you did get a text. Deputy Superintendent Dr. Smith is going to be sitting in for Superintendent Murphy. We're gonna have, God bless you, we're gonna have our next presentation is from Chrissy Reeves around student services. Did you want to introduce the next presentation? It's okay. That's okay, we got you until you get it. Yes, ma'am.
Good evening.
Good evening.
President Moffitt, Vice President Bolton, Treasurer Guston, and Deputy Superintendent Murphy, and the whole board. It's a pleasure for me to be here tonight, even though we've lost our audience. I'm trying not to be offended by that. My name is Chrissy Reeves, as Dr. Moffitt said, and I am excited to walk you through the work that we are doing in the Department of Student Services this year. My goal this evening is to provide a look at the current state of special education in our district. And I'm going to start with a high-level overview of our data, move into our state profile and specific goals, and then I'm going to close with some structural changes that we've been making to make sure that we're better supporting all of our students. As you can see, this slide gives a snapshot of the different specialized populations that we serve across the district. You can see that it's a large, diverse group of students. Currently, obviously this number kind of changes daily, but we currently support 6,392 students with disabilities across our buildings in grades K through 12. We also have over 3,700 identified gifted learners, as well as 290 twice exceptional students, and those are students who are identified as both gifted and as having a disability. We also oversee a little over 1,500 Section 504 plans for students who require that kind of accommodation. And we also have a small but critical population of about 60 students with complex medical needs who receive skilled nursing care. And then you also know that we oversee school health for all of our students, and we have RNs, LPNs, and school health assistants in each building now. So these numbers highlight how broad those responsibilities are that we have, but tonight we're going to focus specifically on students with disabilities. So if you take a look at our trend data, you can see that our total population of students with disabilities has shown a consistent upward trend over the past decade. What this kind of means for us is that we have to constantly evaluate our staffing models, our facility space, and our resource allocation to be sure that we are keeping pace with that growth. And just for reference, just because this is often a question that's asked, our district as 21, we're usually between 20 and 21% students with disabilities. We're at about 21.5 right now. That's just where we stand. So on the next slide, what you can see are charts that break down the students with disabilities by grade level. So you can see that the numbers are relatively consistent across elementary and middle grades, kind of hovering between maybe 400 and 500 students per grade, going up a little bit. And then you'll see that there's a peak in 9th grade at about between 600, 650 students. That's pretty typical as students get to high school, and we're kind of catching up on identification processes with students when they get into high school. It's important, I think, to look at this distribution because you can see that the need for our students is sustained across grade levels. There's no grade level where it's light. All of our years have a pretty intense level of support needed. And also looking at this helps us to see where we can concentrate our support and where we really need to have those supports in place for our students. The next slide then shows why our students are qualifying for special education. So you can see that the largest group of our students, the blue category on the pie chart, it's over 36% of our students are students with specific learning disabilities. So what that means is they're students who often need specially designed instruction in either reading or math, but they still spend most of their day in the general education classroom. The next largest category is other health impairment, and that's around 20%, and it usually includes something like a diagnosis of ADHD. That's probably our most common one. And then third, they're followed by autism, which is around 12%. I do think it's worth noting on here, though, that while there are some categories like multiple disabilities or emotional disturbance that have a smaller percentage, those are often the students that require the most intense and the most resource-heavy supports. So I just like to point that out when we're taking a look at those numbers. So the next slide shows where we serve our students. So if we're talking about in terms of placement, the vast majority of our students are served in their neighborhood schools. However, we do have some who require specialized classrooms in maybe a different setting in order to be successful. The pie chart that's on the right, it shows where students with disabilities who are in our CPS buildings are served. It shows, again, the vast majority of them, 72% of our students with disabilities are spending time with other peers, their gen ed peers in general education, accessing core curriculum. This aligns perfectly with the goal of integrating students into the gen ed classroom as much as possible when it's appropriate. The remaining 28% are served in our specialized classrooms, and you can see the examples of those classrooms in the chart that is on the left. Our goal is always to serve students in their, what we call their least restrictive environment. But these specialized classrooms that you see on the left are vital for that small group of students who still need kind of smaller classroom ratios and a more intense level of support. Okay. So after looking at that kind of overall data, I want to take a shift to our accountability. And this is going to show how the state measures our success. We are measured by what is called the Ohio Special Education Profile. And it is based on the Federal Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, which is commonly just called IDEA or IDEA. And it uses a series of indicators that measure and sort of grade districts on how well they're doing. The Ohio Department of Education and Workforce sets annual targets for all of the indicators. Basically, what this report card tells us is if we are compliant with the law and also if our students are making academic progress. So what it will do is it will flag areas that we're falling short, and it will trigger required corrective actions that we have to do in those areas. And what you can see on the next slide is what they do, what the state does to make that data actionable. They organize all of those indicators into 6 essential questions, and those are basically the questions that we use to guide our work. And they make sure that we're looking at the whole child and not just focusing on numbers or just data moving forward. So these questions make sure that we're measuring kindergarten readiness, the achievement of students with disabilities. Are they achieving at high levels? Do our students with disabilities have access to the general education environment? And are we avoiding exclusionary discipline? That's another big piece of that one. Are our students with disabilities prepared for life after high school? Are we compliant with federal laws? And finally, are we providing equitable services across all racial and demographic groups? The next slide shows our specific profile for the 24-25 school year. This is a little early for the one that's going to come out next. There is going to be a new profile that comes out in December. It's probably in about a month from now. They never will commit to a specific date. It kind of comes when it comes in December. I'll be happy to share that with you when it comes out. So this is based on the most recent one we got in 24-25. And it's kind of showing where we have some areas of strength and where we still need to focus. So you can see that we met targets in a few key areas, which include both math and ELA proficiency gaps. as well as participation rates, which those are great. However, we do have some district areas for some areas of growth that we need to focus on. A new finding that we had this year, and this was totally new for us this year, to have any kind of disproportionality finding on this. We have had one area where we were disproportionate, and it was in the representation of Black students with intellectual disabilities. So it's a pretty specific area, but we're concerned about anything that raises that kind of equity issue. So we immediately began digging into that data to work on corrective actions for it. And then we have ongoing growth areas, areas of work to do regarding graduation and dropout rates for students with disabilities, as well as ensuring timely initial evaluations. And those areas of growth are what we use to directly inform the goals that we set when we are setting goals for our department for the upcoming year. And so we will see those goals beginning on the next slide. We want to address those challenges that you see in here. So we've established 4 primary goals. The first goal is focused on that graduation rate for students with disabilities. We need to boost that rate from 61.57% to the state target, which is 66.1%. And the second goal here addresses that achievement gap that we talked about. We are committed to working to close the ELA and math achievement gaps by 5 points for this year. You can see the current gaps listed. They're big gaps, and it's very hard to move those. But we do think that it's important, so we think it's ambitious but necessary work that we need to do. The third goal that we're focusing on drills down into the proficiency rates for students with disabilities on their state tests. The special ed profile specifically focuses on grades 4, 8, and high school. Those are the ones that it measures. So we need to make sure that we are working to increase the percentage of students who are scoring proficient and above in those grade levels. If you look at this data table, you can see that those gaps are significant, particularly in 4th grade math and high school ELA. So these areas are a top priority for us, obviously. And then goal 4 is about that least restrictive environment. This is a goal that tracks where students spend their day. We want more students to be in the regular classroom for more than 80% of the day. That's considered as fully included as we measure for students with disabilities. Right now, 62% of our students fall into that, and the goal is 67%. So we're going to work on that. And then conversely, we want to make sure that we have fewer students, reduce the number of students who we are educating in separate facilities. You can see that that is kind of a delicate balance, right? We want to make sure that we're giving students the level of support that they need, but we also want to maximize time that they have with their general ed peers. So that's kind of a balance, kind of a tightrope that we're always walking with our students. Okay, we know that in order to meet those goals, we just cannot keep doing what we've been doing in the past. On the next slide, you'll see some strategic shifts that we have been working on implementing beginning this year and planning on going forward. First, we redesigned our supports to align to the corridor model that the district has set in place. And our hope is that this means more consistent supports for students and families as they move from elementary to middle to high school. They'll have a dedicated team who knows the students as they go up through the grade levels. And then in addition to that, we are working to expand the continuum of services that's offered within each corridor. The goal is so that students can stay as close to their home as possible, no matter what level of service that they need to receive. Every year, we continue to strengthen our collaboration with curriculum and instruction. We are doing that through creating a shared vision. We do shared professional development and training. We go on instructional rounds with them and have a voice in that. And the goal of this is to make sure that our special education is integrated into the general education classroom as much as possible to the maximum extent that we can. We're also strengthening our partnership with Children's Hospital to better support students who have chronic health conditions so that we can get them into school more, because we can't teach them if they are not coming to school, right? So that's huge. Then on the next slide, it shows just some operational efficiencies that we're working on. We've been working on streamlining our processes, cross-training our staff, making sure that our procedures are clarified so that everybody knows how to do things, what you need to do to get done, and there's less red tape for them. We're also building team capacity within our school buildings. We are trying to shift away from reliance on district-wide specialists to building that internal capacity with the staff inside the buildings. Our goal is that we want the expertise to be living inside the school and available every day, rather than just depending on one or two specialists who can only offer it whenever they're available to go to the building. We've also shifted the role of the techs in our department. They previously spent a lot of time on compliance checks and paperwork that still needs to be done, but because of the switch over to Focus, there's some things that they don't need to do, so they're focusing on more of a customer support role for our families and our staff. And then we're also learning from our peers in other large urban districts in Ohio about how they're facing some of the challenges that we're all facing right now, especially with current funding constraints that we all have together. And then the next slide, I feel like we need to be honest about the challenges that we're all facing. We know this is not just, obviously this is not just the Department of Student Services. We're all being asked to do more with less, right? At the same time, we are seeing an increase in more complex needs of students presenting at younger ages, both behaviorally and academically, medically, all of that. It's creating some safety concerns, and it's often requiring some higher staffing ratios to support those needs. And then that leads into the next challenge, which is at the same time that is happening, we have some staffing shortages. We're having it's becoming increasingly difficult to hire intervention specialists, school psychologists, skilled nursing staff, paraprofessionals, basically anybody that we need to, work with students with disabilities at the same time that the need is increasing. And then, as you all know, as well as anybody, costs are rising, right? Transportation, out-of-district placements, all of that is becoming more expensive. So we are constantly trying to balance the need to provide the appropriate learning environment with the fiscal reality that we're in right now. But to end on a positive note, we do think that even with those challenges, we do have some opportunities that we see going forward. Right now, what we're focused on doing is growing that internal capacity that we talked about. Strengthening our ties with community and business partners so that we can increase that capacity and maximize any available resources that are out there. We're also digging into our data to determine if that rise in the complex needs of our younger students is kind of like a temporary bubble or if it's something that we think is long-term, because that's really going to impact our planning going forward. And then long-term, we really think that we need to reimagine some of our staffing models, as well as thinking about redesigning some of those specialized classrooms to be a little bit more flexible, which will allow us to adapt quickly to changes in our student population like we're seeing now. Whatever we find in that data, we're always committed to equitable resource allocation to make sure that all buildings have what they need. And I think that is the last, I'm sorry, I didn't know you weren't on that slide. Thank you. So that's it. Thank you for your time. As always, we're committed to collaborating with you to support our students, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you so much. Board members. I think that's an attest that you did great. Vice President Bolton.
Just thank you so much. Appreciate this, and I think this is more complete than we've had for a number of years.
Thank you.
And I appreciate that. I don't know exactly why this is or where it came from, but I think some of us heard on the news in the last couple of days or 3 days or something, the downgrading of professional status for, I think it's nurses, PTs, if people can help me. I don't know who did it, but I'm sure it's going to impact an already difficult employment pool. Are you aware of what's going on there?
I would like to say I know more. I'm aware of it. I know that it's something that the Department of Ed did federally. And I know that there's a lot of people frustrated about it. Mostly what I've seen right now, though, is people who are frustrated because it's affecting their student loan status. I haven't necessarily seen anything specific that's going to affect us professionally or how they work with students or their licensure. But we're definitely keeping our eye on that to make sure that we are on top of it.
Yeah, it just seems there are benefits to being, having that professional status. And those benefits, if you don't have that status, the benefits aren't there. I just worry about it, again, decreasing the pool. So I'm glad it's not impacting us right away, but it also, of course, is a slap for many people. Just one more. Gotcha. Thank you.
Board Member Lundy.
Thanks so much. Could we go back to your slide where you talked about the critical shortage or critical staffing shortages? It would be really helpful to be able to put some numbers around that from my perspective. If you know this off the top of your head, I'll take it. And if you don't, I understand, but might ask for just some follow-up on that. How many, if it's intervention specialists, how many do we currently have? How many do we wish that we had in those spots where we wish we had them? Do we have permanent substitutes in those positions? Just some way of laying out some numbers on that. Same on psychologists, if it's paras, if it's like whatever the role is, but just being able to put some numbers behind that would be really, really helpful.
I would prefer not to give you that right
No
now so
problem.
that I don't say something wrong, but what I can tell you is we work very hard to make sure that those staffing shortages don't affect the students. We do bring in long-term subs for intervention specialists. We have agencies that we contract with for some of the staffing. We do our best to make sure that it's not affecting the students, but I can definitely get you specific numbers.
And I think that all sounds right. I'm trying to be able to, for myself, create a picture of what do we wish were true? What is the delta between current state and what we wish were true? And that would be very helpful. Thanks.
Board Member Crossett.
Yes, we talked about that in the Finance Committee meeting, and that there may be some opportunities to do broader contracts with agencies that could help cut costs by having a different contract arrangement that might be multiple folks rather than one person at a time. And then I made this amazing suggestion that they should look to universities for students with needing practicums or internships, and that might be another way to cover some of this. But I didn't really get a great response to that.
It was a fabulous suggestion. We do have, we do have interns up for our psychologists, so it's a great idea, and we can look, I don't think as many people are going into all of those fields, but I do love that idea, and we're happy to partner with our universities.
We definitely have to be more creative with how we educate. Board Member Matt.
Yes, so I think all of this is working together because one of my questions was to just ask you to speak about the funding allocation for students with special educational needs and how that is impacting our specialized units. I do know that, as you talked about there, so a plan to maybe reimagine how to utilize those units. I'm concerned about how many specialized units we do have, what the number is for students that's waiting for these units, and again, how that is aligning with the critical shortage with our staff.
So
I know that was a lot, I'm sorry.
for funding, the majority of our funding is general fund money, just the same as everyone else's. We do have Idea B funding, which is supplemental on top of that. That can only pay for, it can only supplement, not supplant, just like any other grant money. And yes, that's the thing, that anytime that we need to make increases in something like a classroom that has 6 students in it, for example, it's going to cost as much to open that classroom, if not more, than a classroom with 25 students in it. So it's not a trade-off, but it is something that we have to consider. And then you're right, we absolutely have a responsibility to be educating students in their least restrictive environment, not looking to put more students into specialized classrooms. That is something that we are always trying to balance. Yes.
Okay. Do you have, and this is kind of along the lines as Board Member Lindy, do you have an idea of where we are specifically in our district of the need for more specialized classrooms? And how many students maybe, it may not be any at all, I don't know, but if there are students that are actually waiting to be serviced in those specialized classrooms?
I don't have, I do know that, number one, we're planning next year's. We're already looking towards next year's staffing and deciding what we need for next year. For this year, there are almost always students who the team has just decided that, because it's an IEP team decision, that they would be more successful in a specialized classroom, and there is time in between the time that decision is made and the time that we find an appropriate placement for them. I don't have an exact number for you, but I can get you that.
Okay, and then lastly, I love that you talked about the professional development that is in place for our general education teachers as well as our special education teachers. Can you speak more specifically to what that professional development and support looks like to ensure the adherence to the IEP or the 504 plan, to, especially if I'm a gen ed teacher, right, and I have a student that has an IEP, making sure that those accommodations are understood and also are followed?
We do our best to do that with general education teachers. It's hard to get time in front of that group. A lot of what we do happens actually through our special education teams in the buildings. We have time with those teams that's dedicated to that, and then we lean on them to really share that messaging out. And then also, when we are in our instructional rounds, that is a chance when we have the ability to, we kind of have a captive audience, for lack of a better word, and we can talk about what we've seen and how we think that they could probably do, just increase access a little bit for all of their students. Those are the highest times that we have access to them.
Okay, thank you. I do know that sometimes that can be a challenging area, and also hearing just from parents who are also trying to make sure that they're knowledgeable about what the accommodations look like or what those goals look like. And so, trying to make sure that we're stressing that implementation with the gen ed teachers as well. So thank you for.
We're always everybody's fighting for PD time with the teachers.
Thank you.
Board Member Craig.
So I want to, well, first, thank you for your presentation, but, and then thank you also for speaking and the information you shared at the Budget, Finance, and Growth Committee as well. I want to take one little personal moment of my own to express the hypocrisy of the profile identifying disproportionate representation of Black students, in that the state does not talk about race anymore, right? We're not allowed to discuss these things anymore based on how the state's has talked about education. So I think it is somewhat laughable that that is a indicator. But that's my own little personal pet peeve with the state right now that I will keep championing. But I do think it does offer out an opportunity for us to really think about where also our students with disabilities are coming from within our city, because I think one of the struggles we have is that in certain ways, some portions of our population demographics are also leading to potentially some of these indicators happening either later or indicators happening in a mass. And so I think what may be something we can look at or potentially expand or explore is, where do we see a large density of our students with disabilities populating our schools? Mm-hmm. And that may also direct us as to what resources and what community-based needs might be met by some of these alternative ways of doing some of those same exact services we're talking about. We don't have a lot of in the pool, right? So if we have a particular school or we have a particular area of the city that we see a greater concentration of particular disabilities or particular high need disabilities specifically. Not that you have to tell us today, I'm saying if we do that, we do that type of assessment, that might help us also guide what resources are in that community that can be made available.
And what I do have for you that this might have been mentioned in the Finance Committee meeting, and it's too much to put onto a slide, so I didn't do it. But I have for you all some data that would not really look good on a slide, but it shows percentages in buildings and percentages for demographic groups. So I'll share that with you afterwards. And yes, there are definitely areas that we see things in. What we're hoping, if I can tie this into something else that you've heard a lot about recently, is the district's MTSS framework that we're leaning into. It is our hope that having a comprehensive district-wide framework that everybody is following and that is really being used with fidelity. Students are getting the interventions that they need. We're hoping that that is going to help to cut down on some over-identification in areas that we're looking at.
I think the other point that may be worth us as a board doing a little bit more thinking around is there's a certain amount of struggle that when your child is not identified early enough that the interventions are kind of always chasing. And we've talked about this before when we talked about like the kids who missed certain things during COVID. We were constantly trying to catch them up, right? Like we were trying to do this idea of that we could at some point get them to a certain level. And I think that's a really big challenge with students with disabilities because you're like also chasing the pathway without the tools that you would normally have in your toolkit to get someone to accelerate it. Right. So I'm wondering also in those spaces where we are seeing that pattern of large pockets of students with disabilities, where we're also identifying those students, like what grade level are we identifying those challenges for a student? Because that is the other part that is, sometimes what happens is a student has not performed at their grade level for years before they're recognized as having disability. So now we're both catching up the students, or now we're both dealing with the disability and we're trying to catch the student up at the same time. And so I think that's the other thing that might be helpful for us as we explore is, are we able to do some of those assessments and identifications earlier so that we can provide the necessary resources in the beginning so that we're not really trying to catch up as much for a student who's at that fourth grade level, because that's so far into your school process that it's a difficult time to try and catch up.
Agreed.
So I'll be really brief with my question. Thank you so much for this presentation. I will admit it has a particular affinity to me because I had a son with an undiagnosed learning disability. And so my questions are going to be around parent engagement and around seeing what challenges your department has. So on slide 9, you mentioned the new finding. Can you talk about what does that mean? And I know I'm saying in depth, and I'm happy to get it later in the report when you send us some more information. But what does that disproportionality mean?
In general, overall, it means that we are over-identifying Black students as having intellectual disabilities compared to what the state would like us to be doing it at. Okay. Yeah, so they have for all of the disproportionalities, there's a risk ratio. And if you hit above the risk ratio, then you are considered to be not in proportion with where they would like you to be.
I gotcha. And is there like a state average is that the normal number? Is like there's a district average?
It's all 2, and I mean, I would have to go into, it's 2 is the ratio that you're supposed to, I can give you the specific calculation, but that's not something where like the target changes every year. They have lowered the risk ratio over the years to be, so that more of us are disproportionate than we should be because they've lowered the ratio, but it's not like the other targets kind of change every year for what you're supposed to do. This is a straight ratio that you're supposed to be within.
Got it. And if you know offhand, is that demographic of Black students more disproportionate towards males versus females, or are you seeing females rise, or is there anything that even though we know it's an indicator, but is it more Black boys that are more identified or Black females?
We did not look at that, but I can get you that.
Okay, I'm just wondering myself. And then my next question, I have tons of questions for you, but I'm not going to give it to you tonight because it's late, but I'll send them on an email. But a few years ago, Children's Hospital came to the district and said, hey, you're going to need more autism classrooms because we're seeing a rise in autism from Children's Hospital perspective. And I'm glad that you mentioned the partnership with Children's because maybe now they can help us offset some of the things that they are seeing that are going to get. To my question, I think it's slide 6, Rob. You talked about the specialized classrooms. Those are classrooms across the district. So it's 95 multiple disability classrooms.
Yes.
Okay. And then it's 24 preschool special ed classrooms. So that number, those numbers are so, it just takes the breath away. But are you, in your partnership with Children's Hospital and some of our other partners, are you seeing anything that we should be forewarned about as far as, you mentioned staffing is a concern. Are there any things that are coming down the pike within the next, I would say, 2 to 5 years that we need to know that are going to hit us?
The main thing that we can see is that we are not seeing a slowdown in the identification of students with autism, and it seems to be more intense and complex levels of autism than the sort of the high achieving end of the spectrum. We're seeing more complex needs, and a lot of it is manifesting in behaviors. So they're seeing that at Children's, and that's what we're seeing in the classroom as well.
And would in that area, would it see an increase in the preschool special ed or like multiple classrooms, like you will need more classrooms in a certain area?
All of the above.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
we do identify quite a lot of students in preschool. Part of that 6,392 number, that was only K to 12 students. There are also about 500 preschool students that we serve in different settings. And a lot of them there are a lot of diagnoses of autism that early. Some of them, they're not ready yet to diagnose them, and it'll be like a communication, maybe disorder or developmental delay, and it will adapt as they get a little bit older. Then we also get students who just, who maybe have not been identified, maybe haven't had a lot of preschool care or anything before they've been to school, and we identify them when they come to us for kindergarten.
So do we do a lot of, and I know you are operating with a small team that's mighty, but do we do any engagement with parents in the community to let them know what they could be asking their doctor to kind of help us? I'm just thinking of, because I've had some younger parents come to me and say, I think there's something wrong with my daughter because she's not acting like the other ones acted at that age. So they're understanding that there's an identity of something, but do we happen to have any resources that we could give to parents? I mean, are you just stretched really thin? I'm not, it's not a judgment call, it's just like kind of
Everybody
like.
is stretched thin, but we have an autism support team that works with our families. We have parent mentors who work with our families, and they all share information. And then it's part of the district's child find obligation to make sure that, when we suspect that there might be a student with any disability, that we reach out to the family and get more information, share information with them, possibly evaluate them if it gets to that. So we are doing our best. We don't have any shortage of parents who think that they have that need, though. I will say that.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Right. Our next topic is about planning for the strategic plan and the board discussion around that. Would you all like to wait until the superintendent is here? Or, okay, so we're gonna table that for the next, Phyllis, can we put that on the next agenda? And Board Member Craig, please present your topic under board matters, inquiries, updates, and assignments.
So, I mean, I think this is also one that will probably end up being something superintendent
okay.
gets to respond to, but I will just introduce it for folks to have in our, actually the two of these will probably both be something that superintendent can respond to later. But the first one is just reevaluating what relationships we have with our local universities, whether it is our partnerships. I know we've got a couple of our schools that have built up partnerships with, at least Schroeder has one. I know that Aiken had a relationship, I think they still have a relationship with University of Miami, if I'm not mistaken, or I'm sorry, Miami University. Would be much more fun if we had to go down to Florida. But I think understanding some of the partnerships we have with regards to allowing some of the students at the universities to assist us in some of the research opportunities, as well as potential like pathways that are established. I bring this up in part because when I was at the Council of Great City Schools, there was a presentation by Nashville, the Nashville School District, and then one that was right outside of Austin, I believe it is, where they partnered with, but Nashville specifically, where they partnered with the local universities to do a lot of their research, or partner with Vanderbilt University and the students there to do some of their research efforts, and, so that it allowed them to both utilize a project for the student to gather educational benefit, and the district was able to get the benefit of seeing their numbers in a more comprehensive way, being explored and dived into. And so I think there are ways that we can do some of those similar things, as well as similar opportunities to expand career CCP courses and other things if we have this running partnership with local schools. So that was just what I wanted to kind of explore as to what our current state was. I think we can always explore that at another date.
So we can list it as an assignment to maybe provide us that information, like
Sure.
would you like a list of the partnerships at the schools?
Sure.
Okay. Can somebody capture those assignments? Okay.
I'll bring it again up when we talk about assignments.
I wanted to follow up on that, because I do remember when Superintendent Mitchell was here, being in a couple of meetings where indeed a whole list of the nearby universities were listed as to they were creating some sort of partnership, or there was a list of special relationships with them. And you're right, Miami was one, and of course, and there were others as well. And I know there was some effort too to have the historically black colleges that are close at hand. And I think that has worked out, especially with like the agriculture. So that'd be great to see if that list still exists, if those relationships, have benefited. I'm sure they have. Yeah, that's a great thing to figure out.
So I do know that Aiken has a relationship with Central State, the land grant. I think we've got some other ones in there. So that'll just be an assignment. And just board members, so you know, we put board matters, inquiries, updates, and assignments all in the same section now. So
there you go.
we'll just list it as an assignment.
The assignment. The other, well, and then one other little point on that one also is the opportunity for the pathway. So a student who may, for instance, and I use the example because Cincinnati State, or not, College of Mount St. Joe actually has a really great program for athletic trainers. And this is a particular need for the district, where if a student was able to go from CPS to College of Mount St. Joe, and with that partnership be able to work and assist with our athletic trainers, whether it's some type of apprenticeship program or whatever, then post-grad, they already have a plan for work. And I think there's opportunities to do that similarly with other parts of with other programs, but really targeting specific pathway programs that might lend someone to come back to the district. I think we've done that in the past with regards to education programs, or a person who is a high school student who wants to be a teacher. But we employ a lot of other roles than just teachers in the district that may need that assistance as well. Again, similarly, something like a finance role may be another world of that. Technology, all kinds of other spaces in which we can use those services as a pathway.
Board Member Craig, I just want to make sure I'm clarifying, so when I talk to the superintendent, you would like a list of the universities that we have partnerships with already, and any potential universities that we can have partnerships with, and then if we have pathways set up, those listed, and then we could talk about potential pathways off of that list.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
I could add to that list, I know at Sailor Park, if there's been some effort regarding the military piece, Coast Guard offers an incredible opportunity for whatever their junior ROTC is called. And if you're participating in that, it is a direct route to UC. And it's all, of course, Coast Guard pays for the Coast Guard program as well as the UC program as well. If we can get Coast Guard.
I think we can. So add that to the assignment.
I added it.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Board Member Matt?
So it's not necessarily an assignment, I'm just thinking about what Board Member Craig talked about specifically around the athletic trainers, and I know having that partnership with the universities, I'm wondering if there can be some work that's done with the particular schools. I'm thinking of Taft. I know that they have like the athletic trainer kind of pathway there where they're already working with maybe corporate partners, so maybe there can be some collaboration when we're thinking about the universities as well as maybe possible partnerships.
Got a good list going on here. All right. Moving on down, so we've got the two down there. And then Vice President Bolton, you wanted to talk about OSBA.
Yeah, we have, our protocol says that we're to, report back when we've been fortunate enough to get out of town and learn some stuff. I just wanted to go over some of the stuff that I did and that was of interest to me, and I think some folks that were there from this board probably learned some additional things. First, the reality is that all the urbans and all the school districts are experiencing the same issues that we've gone through the last 2 years, both financially and consolidation and what have you. Also, for the steering committee for the voucher case, we got good information and good data about the possibility of us appealing one of the issues there that was kind of put on the side or in the parking lot because the evidence is now kind of proving to be true that as these vouchers are being developed and implemented, there is a racial issue that is evolving in the placement of the people that are using the vouchers. And we also heard from a Senator and Representative Patterson from Cup Patterson, and was very, I think the treasurer heard from him too. He was very motivating from a standpoint that we had to stand up, that indeed public education is under attack, and some of these decisions that are in the offing are crucial. But learning some other stuff real quick. One, and this is for Mr. Burkhart, now somehow the law allows for 10 passenger and not just the 9 passenger. And of course, now that's like $20,000, $25,000 more per bus or something. And the great 9 passengers that were reasonably cheap, now they're not making them or what have you. But it was interesting to hear all of the legal aspects of transportation and the insurance piece. The Toledo people, and this is a good thing, we did this before with realtors. Some of you that have been here very long will remember this. The Toledo people and their board and administration literally does Toledo on tour. And what they do is they bring in particular people, whoever wants to, but they actually tour their district. And we did that a number of times for realtors especially, because this was at the height of selling Mason, the height of selling Lakota and what have you. And I think that would be a good idea from a standpoint of even the facilities tours. It's just something to think about. I know we have way too much to do already, but I thought that was very good. But the most interesting thing, and Mr. Burkhart has brought this up before, it was last year, but Mentor School District offers a particular special program, and this is in keeping with what Director Reeves has pointed out. Mentor actually, over the years, actually had their home builders and architects build an actual house that is across the street from one of their schools. And it is to be used to offer training for young people up to the age of 22 in independent living, as well as all of the other things that are taught. And it's fascinating. I never quite fully understood or fully appreciated all that goes into this, but even the house is designed, particularly with the physical changes and specialties for kids and for young people with autism. I mean, the architecture, it's not just like, universal design, which is so important as we look at the new buildings and what have you. But this was fascinating, and it carried with it the fact that some of the specialized programs that people leave the district to attend at great cost to the district and everybody, that brought kids back or kept kids at Mentor. But it was the idea of actual having a real laboratory for the kids to learn how to be independent and be comfortable in doing that. They saw that as part of their responsibilities, but very fascinating. Thank you.
Great. All right. Okay, so we've got the assignments. Do you need them to be reviewed? Do any other board members have any other assignments that they'd like? Vice President Bolton?
Well, I think it's an assignment. I think as of tonight, we not only have a superintendent evaluation that we've adopted, but I think tonight we adopted the treasurer's evaluation and the consent agenda. And I think that, I believe that the internal audit chief's evaluation's gone through, I know, through finance and sent perhaps to policy. I can't recall if it left policy or has come to full board. I can't remember, sir.
Board Member Lindy?
We have the changes for the timing on the treasurer's eval are in consent for tonight. And the conclusion, having corresponded with Lauren and discussed in policy, is that the current policy as written does everything that Auditor Haverkos was asking us to do. So we didn't recommend any changes because it worked as is.
Great. And so the last one left from our retreat or work session, Saturday work session back in October, I think the only one that was left was an evaluation regarding general counsel. And I don't know where that is.
We did not come to a conclusion on our role in that.
I think it went to
Or
policy.
maybe it did. Board Member Lindy?
Happy to provide an update. So
Okay.
we did talk about this in policy.
Okay.
And we also looked at a model council policy from school board partners. It led to, I think, a series of really good questions that we wanted to discuss and vet further. So this is on our agenda for the last policy committee meeting of the year. And I think we may even have a speaker from school board partners to come talk and answer some questions for the committee. All are invited, but it is in the queue.
So December, maybe?
Well, policy December.
I meant policy, December's policy meeting.
Yes, well, we will 100% be talking about it in committee. Just the way the timing works with the board meetings, we won't have a full board meeting after, so it would come up as a report in the new calendar year.
Gotcha. All right. Anything else?
My last assignment is that last time we met, we had on the list to at least have some open discussion about protocol. I know that was sent to is one of the suggestions to policy, but we, last time on the agenda, kind of skipped over that, and I didn't want to say anything because it was so long anyway. So we just, but we might want to look at it for some sort of open discussion, if need be.
Okay.
If it pleases the board, at least go back and see if we need to put it on next time. Or wait until
Protocol
full
for-
new board, yeah, protocol.
For, expand on it.
Review of protocol.
For, Board Member Weinberg is asking, what is it, can you expand on what your
Yeah, some of the
request is?
issues that within the current protocol, or do we need to review? Not only review, is there any need for policy to do any rewriting? Something as simple as in the definitions, fact-finding isn't listed. That would be an example, or there's something that policy can review themselves, or we as a board can review individually and submit some ideas, I think is what the policy committee had suggested. Are there some specifics to the point of Member Weinberg suggesting?
Okay, I'm going to, I don't want to belabor the point, but I'm a little confused on what we're talking about the protocol of. So, are we talking about?
Bylaws.
Okay.
I would just
Bylaws
say,
is
we're happy to create space on the agenda again.
Okay.
Any board member who has a specific concern is also invited to come and come talk about it, and we'll make
The
sure
bylaws.
everything gets airtime.
Okay.
Super.
When we said bylaws, everybody's like, oh, okay, all right. I didn't know what it was either. It's okay. So now, any other, I'm sorry, Ben.
I can be super fast, and this may be just a request for information or not necessarily an assignment, but I had an interesting conversation with a constituent about PBIS plans for schools. And the question that came out of the conversation was, if somebody wants to see an example of a really good PBIS plan as like an exemplar, what is the best place to look for one of those? And I did not know the answer. I'm sure that the answer is out there. This can be an email follow-up, but I wanted to make sure I asked about it because I would like to be able to direct folks to the right place. Thanks.
Got it.
All right, Board Member Matt.
Yes, just wanted to follow up with Director Reeves about just the specialized units. So, when will we have additional units opening, if there are students on a wait list for those units, and that can come through email. And then also with Deputy Superintendent Smith around the data with the rent, and that may be forthcoming several meetings from here, but if we could have follow-up around that.
Board Member Mapp, you want to know how many specialized classes we have now? Or you want to know we have more coming?
So how many specialized classrooms do we have currently? How many do we possibly need for students that are potentially on a waiting list? And when will those possibly be made available?
Yeah, got you. For the REMP data, can we bring you the plan? Because the REMP data doesn't change until we take the state test. But we'll bring you a plan. We'll look at how many REMPs are per school, so we can look at the data for that. And we could also, I could go back and see from last year. I can provide you that data.
Okay,
And then we
perfect.
can show you the next year.
Sounds like a plan, and then maybe moving forward after we collect that.
We'll have a system of how we do it.
Okay, thank you.
Board Member Craig.
And then just one other, and I know we talked about it a little bit today, but just maybe a breakout of our current staffing numbers and potential areas of need. I know we were in the past getting those updates, but I don't think we have gotten those recently. So just a kind of a, maybe as we approach the new year, what those new numbers will look like. And I know, because again, though it'll be sad to lose Board Member Weinberg, we will be adding a new member who will not have had that historic data, so.
Perfect. A proposed consent agenda has been distributed. I do know of probably two people's exceptions. So, board members, the superintendent or the treasurer, any of you have any exceptions to the consent agenda presented? Board Member Weinberg.
I just have one today, so it will be on the superintendent's recommendation, page 11, section D, athletic/curricular, line 3 and line 5.
Okay, my exception is very brief as well.
Member
So
Mapp.
I would like to abstain from the treasurer's report, page 6, line item number 5 and 6, and then page 9, line item 9.
That is a record. Roll call vote for the consent agenda. Treasurer Guston, please call the voting roll for the passage of the consent agenda.
Do we have a motion
I'm
and
so
a second?
sorry. I'm so sorry. I need to do this earlier because I'm tired. I need a motion to approve. Yes, just a little. A motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay,
All right, now we're ready.
now we're ready.
All right, Mr. Craig,
Yes.
Mr. Crossett,
Yes.
Mr. Lindy,
Yes.
Ms. Mapp,
Yes.
Mrs. Weinberg,
Yes.
Vice President Bolton,
Yes.
President Moffett.
Yes. The chair will entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, well, dang. All right.